Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome PJ Souls, Brian Andrews, Tommy Doyle, Charles Cyphers, Sheriff Brackett. Great. What was it like on the very first day of the set for either of you? Where you all worked together, or what was it like? What happened on that first day?
I think we all had different first days.
Yeah, we did. We all did, yeah.
My first day, well, I don't know if I can remember exactly the first day, but I remember the whole filming of Halloween, but not specifically maybe the first day, except that probably, I think it was coming out of the high school, that scene, when we're walking, and I'm talking about my books and things, but it was exciting. You knew that you were working with somebody that had a really good idea of what he wanted, and that he also was very eager to listen to anything that you wanted to add or put forth with your character. So I remember I'm very much into my wardrobe and the way the character looks in my hair, so I was kind of very hands-on, and he liked, John Carpenter liked everything that I wanted to do with my character, so I was kind of happy the first day. And it continued after that, which was nice, but that was my second film, so that for me, I was lucky because Carrie was my first film, and then Halloween was my second film. So I was lucky to have had a good working experience right off the bat. So
wonderful.
I'm wondering, were you a TV or stage actress before, or was that your first acting gig at all?
No, I had lived in New York before coming out for the audition for Carrie, and I had worked on a soap opera, Love is a Many Splendored Thing, for a year, and I'd also done a lot of modeling and commercials in New York City. But I didn't really want to get into the stage acting because of the fact that I kind of poop out around 10 o'clock at night, and I get up early, so it wasn't my thing. But I liked working on the soap opera. And everybody kept saying, you should go out to California. I was like, oh, I don't know. You have to drive. I like the subway. But I'm glad I did.
I'm not really sure. I think my first scene might have been the one where I'm actually running down the street to meet Laurie, and I'm yelling at her, and I'm trying to stop her. And we went through the scene once, and then John said to me, okay, and then he said to Jane, he said, okay, and then you're going to walk off, and then we're going to play Laurie's theme. And I looked at him, and he said, no, I'm sorry, there is no Tommy's theme. And I was a little upset by that, and we improv the scene once or twice. And walked down the street, did the thing about the Myers house, you can't go up there. And then I went and did 3 hours of school and went home.
I remember my first day of shooting was, we did a scene in Hollywood. It was at a house that was similar to the one in Pasadena, and they had toilet papers in the trees and et cetera. And I had worked for John once before on Assault on Precinct 13. So I was fairly familiar with him, and not much happened. We had I think it was like one little van to do makeup, wardrobe, changing. Nobody had any separate trailer. Nobody had any. It was just, on the cuff. So a few establishing things there, and then most of the stuff then moved, for me at least, to Pasadena, right here, and that's where most of my stuff took place.
Charles, what was it like meeting Donald Pleasence for the first time? Were you familiar with his body of work? Were you nervous to meet him?
No. I'd worked around quite a bit then, done quite a bit of stage myself, so I was impressed by him. I met him and I introduced myself to him, and he was. It was the scene in front, where the hardware store where the girls pull up and they're stoned or whatever, and he just sort of walked up and I introduced myself. I said, "Hi, I'm Chuck Cyphers," and he said, "Oh, yes," he said, "I'm Donald Pleasence, and I'm from Gayola." And I went, "Oh, that's nice, whatever that means, But we had a fun time because we talked about a mutual play we did, and I enjoyed him. We did The Caretaker. I did it here in America, and he did it over in London, of course. So we had a good time. I liked him. He was fun to work with, nice to bounce off of, So that was
wonderful, great. Can you describe how Donald Pleasence and Carpenter would react on this set? I know Carpenter was in awe of Donald Pleasence. So was there any kind of obvious awe? Would he trip up?
Well, Donald knew pretty much. If I understand this right, his daughter did like the music, yeah. And so he did the film for her, on the let's see. I'm trying to think of something specific, but it doesn't come to mind.
Yeah, because I had no scenes with Donald
Yeah,
Pleasence. So.
I
But he
just-
was there for lunch. That's what I
Yeah,
remember.
no, he was just great. I mean, right there, just right there. And you look in his eyes, and you had to bite my tongue half the time because it was.
Yeah, he had a pretty scary look. He was the scariest
that
thing on
way
the set
about
of
him.
Halloween.
Little buddy's helper.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Charles. You and Donald did a lot of scenes at the old Myers house. Was it
Right.
pretty creepy? Or?
No, it was. Actually, it was. It was. The house wasn't near the shape it's in now. I mean, it was pretty
Yeah.
well worn down. So when we walked in, it was, and they had it fixed up nice. I mean, there were glass windows that were cracked, and we walked in and looked at the dog, in the front and upstairs, and it was kind of shabby. I mean, they did a great job to make it look like it was vacant for a long time.
So Brian, were you too young to know that you were doing something really important? Were you excited? Were you like the famous in school for being in a movie?
This was not my first movie. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. This was not the first thing I'd done. I was about 11 when I did that, and I had been acting since I was 3, and well, yeah.
That's a long time ago.
And so really, for me, it was like, okay, go learn the lines, go do what the director says, come home, go back again tomorrow, do the lines, meet with some people, go to school for 3 hours a day, try to be close to the set in case they need you. I don't think any of us knew it was going to be a big thing.
No, not at
No,
all.
I mean,
No,
this was like, for me, this was just another job in that sense. And then when the movie came out, I was in South Carolina filming another film, and I had heard the movie had become big quickly. I remember there was another movie out like within a year called The Boogeyman that tried to play on its coattails. Do you remember that at all? No. There was another movie out called The Boogeyman. They were just using the title. Some people tell me it's forgotten now.
Because we weren't in it.
Among other reasons, yes.
Soundtrack wasn't by John Carpenter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Wasn't the music great in that? I mean, John wrote it all, and it's like wow. Wow.
So I guess it's safe to say you never imagined 25 years later you would be sitting up here still talking
What does
about
it feel
Still
like?
alive?
Yeah. What does it?
What does it feel like being in such an iconic movie and having an audience 25 years later still loving it? What does it feel like?
Great. I love it. It's really special, and especially that it falls on a holiday, it makes it even more special, and that everybody comes from all over the country to come here and sort of share in the experience of it. It's really nice. No, I feel very, very privileged.
It's kind of like being in a Dali painting. It's very surreal for me. I've never done anything like this before, and I'm just trying not to be too overwhelmed. It's fun. I'm having a good time.
I had not realized how many fans this movie had. It totally amazes me. I mean,
Hey, that's my line, totally. Don't steal it.
Totally.
My word.
Totally. But I just feel that, I'm in real deep appreciation of all you out there, because we sometimes forget about it's all you that made the movie go, and I just wanted to say thank you. I was happy to be connected with a project like that.
Were there any bloopers on the set that you remember? I mean, I know you tripped in that one scene,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Well, they kept that in.
Right.
Speaking of that, where was the interior of the Wallace house filmed? Because it's obviously not the same home over on
I
Orange
think it
Grove.
was Pasadena, because I remember, I'm pretty sure it was Pasadena. Because we used the outside there, too, so when we got out of the van. So that was the same house.
Anything you can remember that went really awry on set, or?
I recall that we actually had to split the pumpkin because I fell on it 3 times and I was just too small to actually crack it. So I think they gave me a cracked or partially cracked pumpkin eventually. So and that so eventually they got the shot they want. There's a scene where me and Lori and Kyle were walking out with the popcorn to go and watch the movie, and I ad-libbed the line 2 or 3 times before I say, "What are we watching? What are we watching? What's on?" I ad-libbed that 2 or 3 times before somebody caught on to it and said, "No, the movie you're watching is The Thing. Don't say that anymore." So they knew that The Thing was actually going to be on TV when we were filming it.
Okay, we have a question.
All right. First for PJ Souls, I was just wondering how you said you came up with a lot of this stuff for your character. Did you think of saying the word totally over and over, or was that already in the script?
It was already in the script, but not as many times as I said it. So I made a vow to say it as many times as I could. I did it sort of to see if John was going to hold me back and say, you know what, I think you're saying it too much, but he never did, and I guess everybody likes it. It's so funny. I have to count it, though.
Also for Brian, when you after you made the movie, when you first saw it, being so young, were you scared of watching it?
Shitless.
Good question.
Very scared.
What happened? What happened? What did you do? Did you just...
The premiere
Hide?
was at the Directors Guild, is that right? Yeah, the premiere was at the Directors Guild. I remember seeing Ron Howard in the audience. I brought a friend of mine who lived on my block.
Was he scared?
His mother called my mother the next day to yell at her.
It's probably from my scene.
But
Mom, I saw something I liked.
I was 15. I got in trouble too for going. I was R-rated, so my mom's here.
Just a couple questions for PJ actually. After when they filmed after you died and you were in a, what was that? What were you in, and how cramped was that?
Yeah, it was a closet.
It looked like one of those dumbwaiters
They
things.
squished me in it, yeah, because it was a closet with a ledge that I guess you put your shoes or whatever. So
Oh, okay.
I remember having to be kind of squished in there, and they were poking and pushing me into it, and kind
how
of
long did you have to
shutting
be-
the door. Well, you know, they kept the door open until right before they were going to shoot the scene. But the fun part was getting the bruised makeup and all of that. That was kind of cool. And then figuring out how my head was going to look and lay when the door opened. So I think I did it a lot of different ways just to surprise Jamie, you know, when she opened the door.
And the other question is, you've been in pretty much 2 major horror movies, Carrie and Halloween. Which do you like, Norma or Linda? Who's your favorite?
Oh, I like both of them. Norma, you know, that was my first movie, so I like my red baseball hat, and it was just all the girls in that movie were really fun to work with, and Betty Buckley was really a trip. Yeah, and I got to be mean, which is always fun.
Everybody, I'd just like you to please welcome Joseph Wolf. He's one of the executive producers of the original Halloween. Now, I know Joe hasn't done a lot of appearances, have you?
No, I mean, plenty of them.
Are you a little shy in front of everybody, or are you?
No, I'm not shy.
Oh, okay. Well, Joe, since you just joined us, can you just let us know a little bit about how you became involved with Halloween and how you became such a lucky guy?
How I became involved in Halloween. Can you hear me?
I think, Joe, you got to speak right in the top of it like this.
What happened is we did a picture. I distribute movies as well, and we did a picture called Assault on Precinct 13. I'm sure you guys know about Assault on Precinct 13. And but we distributed it, and we had a European distributor who distributed Assault on Precinct 13 for us. And he told us that John Carpenter was terrific, and therefore we had to make a picture with John Carpenter. The guy's name happened to be Michael Myers, by the way. He was our European distributor, and we named it after him.
That's great.
I never heard that.
I
That's
didn't
funny.
either.
That's
You learned something too, PJ.
That's
Michael
right.
Myers, yeah.
Wow.
He passed away about 2 years ago. But on the way home, I had my partner, Erwin Yablans, thought of the idea of doing a picture about a babysitter. Well, we did a picture about a babysitter, and he said, who can we get to write the picture? And we had met John through Assault on Precinct 13, and we got John to write the picture. And he wrote it, and then John and Deborah produced it, and we distributed it. The story about the distribution was when we first did the movie, nobody had any money, you see. And everybody did it for nothing.
That's right.
Actors, producers, everybody did it for nothing. And basically, when we made the movie, Irwin was a distributor as well. And he worked for a company, he worked with me on another picture called, there were a couple of pictures that he worked on with me, and basically I can't think of the name of the picture, but he worked on me he worked with me on these pictures, and then we had to get distribution. So basically, we opened the movie in Kansas City. Movie died in Kansas City the first week. Second week, they stood online. You couldn't believe what the word of mouth was.
Since the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's been a lot of internet chatter about a Halloween remake. Whether or not that ever surfaces to be true or if it's a consideration, how do you guys feel about that?
Well, why remake a masterpiece?
I agree.
But this time we could get paid.
But just in case they did do a remake, who would you all want to play you?
I don't think there'll ever be a remake of Halloween. But what there will be one of these days is between the three movies, the three devils, I can't think of all of them, Jason and Michael Myers, sooner or later they'll be in one picture, I believe. We were going to try and put one in, about, I would say, it must be about 6 years ago with Dino De Laurentiis, but I couldn't get along with him, so.
Michael meets,
Yeah, Michael meets Jason. Michael is.
We have another question right here.
Yeah, this is for PJ. What was it like when John called you and Nancy Loomis back for the additional TV footage that was done? Just the kind of chemistry between all of you, and is there a lot of excitement? And also, do you still see Jamie Lee or Nancy or any of them?
I was invited to the H2O premiere, and I saw Jamie Lee, and that was really fun. And I recently saw Nancy when we had a screening at the Egyptian Theater for Halloween, and she brought her children, and I brought my daughter and her friends, so that was nice. I don't, on a weekly, daily, yearly basis, and don't really stay in touch. We did at the time right afterwards. Jamie and I became very good friends for about 5 years, but then you'd get involved in other projects and relationships, and times change. But when we went back for the TV footage, I believe it was wasn't it a year later? It was. You don't remember?
I
You
didn't get.
Oh yeah.
No. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
I was the one that had the scenes.
Yeah.
See anything you? Oh.
The TV version.
And it was sort of like a reunion. It was fun, and I think we all tried to look the same.
The making of the TV version
Yeah, it was fun.
cost more than
Wow.
the picture itself.
Really?
You mean to edit it and yeah.
What we had to do for NBC to put it out cost more than the picture itself.
Wow.
This question's for Brian Andrew. Brian, when Halloween 6 came out, did they offer you the part of the grown-up Tommy Doyle?
They tried to get a hold of me, but I didn't have an agent at the time. I still don't. It's kind of hard to get a hold, Paul got a hold of me. Very few people. They tried, but for some reason they were unable to. Yes, they did try.
SAG, they couldn't get you? No.
I didn't have an agent. They wouldn't, and SAG didn't give them my
Phone number?
yeah, they wouldn't give my personal number. So yes, they did try to get a hold of me, and they were unable to. I didn't even know about it. When I heard about it, I'm all like, oh, damn it. That sucks.
Really?
Yeah. But yes, they did, and no, they could not.
Okay, thanks.
This question is for Charles. I was wondering, how was it to work with Donald Pleasance?
I thoroughly enjoyed him. He was a treat, professional, had a great theatrical background. We had done some plays that he did over in England and I did in America. And he was just great. He was great to work off of. He gave you so much, and he was spooky, and you could play off of it. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with them.
This isn't really a question. This is just one last comment I wanted to make. I just wanted to say, me and my brother watched this movie over and over, and I just wanted to thank all of you and everybody that has to do with Halloween for making a movie that could scare the crap out of someone over and over.
Thank you.
I have a question for Sheriff Brackett.
Sure.
Are you allowed to say a quote?
Sure. Now, you remind me what it is, and I'll be glad to.
Damn you for letting him out.
Let's hear that. Dim the lights.
All right, here we go. Damn you for letting him out.
Actually, it's damn you for letting him go. Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. It's you let him out. That's
You let him out.
While we're at it, Tommy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Brian.
Yes.
How's about a? Who is it? While we're at it.
All right. You can't kill the video.
Okay, I understand.
Who is it?
The grown-up version.
Yeah.
That's good. How many times is she going to say totally? Okay.
Go get me a beer. Hey, where's my beer?
But PJ, I thought you were gonna get me one.
Halloween keeps living. It keeps living. The reason it keeps selling and keeps is that you get a new group of people who buy it, and next year there'll be another one, and the next year, 7 years later, there'll be another one. So the movie just keeps on going, and it was so well made. And one of you brought it up. There are no real special effects. It's directing and script and acting. And that's it. And that's what makes them a good movie. You can have all the special effects in the world and everything else, but it doesn't make the actors, and it doesn't make the script, and it doesn't give you the director. And that's the key to all movies.
This has been a real treat. Thank you so much for coming.
Welcome.
Please give
Welcome.
a huge round of applause.
How did you get involved in Halloween 2?
Well, I went on an audition, just as I did for most of the roles I did throughout my career. I actually am embarrassed to say that I had never seen Halloween 1. So when I went on the audition, I really had no idea exactly what to expect. And I did the audition, I did the callback, and then they offered me the role, and I wasn't really quite sure if I should take this role or not. And Rick Rosenthal and Deborah Hill very kindly showed me a copy of Halloween 1 in the office one day. I said, okay, I want to be part of that.
Tani?
And I, like everyone else, went on an audition, got the part, and we had no discussion. Oh. I said yes. Oh, you're right.
Well, before I say how I got involved, I need to thank my agent for arranging for me to be the only leading man on this dais with all these beautiful ladies. Only time I've been a leading man. I did Rick Rosenthal's student film at the American Film Institute. That's a 2-year program, I believe, is it, or 3? 2-year program. And those invited back for the second year, they pick very few people also for their second year. They have a chance to make a motion picture. Before that, it's always video work. And his motion picture was a film called Moonface with only 2 characters in it, of which I was one. And I got a phone call one day, and he said, I'm doing a film called Halloween 2, and I'd like you to be the security guard. I was to go out and meet the casting associate at that time, Nancy Jacoby, whose husband was the attorney that has all the Jacoby and Myers commercials.
That's
And,
kind of strange, Jacoby and Myers.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of a kind of a connection there. You know,
right.
fate.
Never thought of that
It's all
before.
about fate.
And that's how I wound up on the set.
Hi. Rick Rosenthal and his wife Nancy, who was also in the movie, we were all in class together. And it was his first feature, so he decided to make it available to people who were in acting class with him. So Anna Alicia, who was in class, and Leo Rossi was in class, and about 4 or 5 other people. And actually, he wanted me to play the role, and it was written for a 55-year-old white woman. And so I read the script, and I came into audition, and the producer, Deborah Hill, said to Rick, this is not the right person for this role. She is not a 55-year-old white woman. And Rick said, no, but I think she's got the authority, and I think she can, and I think she can do it. So I came back for the callback, and they said, okay, if the cast is young and beautiful, then you can be the head nurse. And of course, the cast was young and beautiful, and so I got the role. And when I showed up in makeup, the makeup people said, what role are you playing? And I said, I'm playing Mrs. Alves. And they said, oh my God, and because it still said 55-year-old white woman, whatever. So that's how I got into Halloween 2.
Just out of curiosity, in regards to your character, since your death scene was never shown, you're just shown laying there. Was there ever anything shot for an actual on-screen death scene?
No. Fortunately for me, in all my entire career, I have never died on screen. But that scene where I'm lying with 400 pounds of blood on the ground, what they did is they strapped me in a gurney, and then they said to me, do not move, do not get up. And then they said, lunch. And I said, what do you mean? You can't leave me here. And they said, we can't disturb the blood, so you can't get up. And so they just left me there, and it was, and for hours. And it was just, I thought, well, I should have died on camera. It would have been easier.
Well, actually, in the TV version, you don't die.
Really?
Yeah, you
never just see me
never
again.
see you die.
Never
so
see
you
me,
never
they
see
never
you again.
see the blood. That's right. That's true.
So you lived and died in the same movie. That's kind of cool. Well, you didn't die. You were dead. So, anyhow. Just as far as I know, the actual location for the hospital was the Veterans Hospital in Van Nuys was the exterior, but I was told by a few other cast members that the interiors were shot at a couple different locations. Do anybody recall where those were?
I think we had a hospital here in Pasadena, didn't we? Just north of the freeway?
I had heard that as well, but
That's-
somebody
yeah.
said it would have been torn down. I don't,
Oh, that's sad.
I don't know if that's true.
I thought there was another hospital that was not in Pasadena that was also out somewhere.
Well, the exteriors were out at the Veterans Hospital on Sepulveda. I do know that.
Yeah, what was that convalescent hospital we used?
We also shot in a convalescent.
Yeah,
home.
that was
I just
near
remember
the-
that
You know the
Rick
answer?
gave a lot of directions.
Somebody
that
knows
we-
the answer?
He knows the answer.
Even though
Yes.
Morningside?
That's correct.
Was that
That's
the one in
it.
Is it still
Pasadena?
there? No, I think they tore it down.
But I
See,
remember-
everybody thinks, but nobody knows.
I just remember Rick Rosenthal when we were at the Veterans Hospital kept giving a lot of directions to keep it down, keep it down. There's sick people out here. Keep it down.
But
It's
I
hard to go,
remember-
ah! And keep it down.
But I think I remember. Do you remember, Tawny, too? There was another hospital that we were in that was very secluded, that was completely empty, and I think that was the
Yeah.
convalescent home, and that wasn't in Pasadena.
No.
And
The
that
one
was-
I worked at
that's
was
where
in
I shot most of the things.
Really? The one I remember working in was in Pasadena.
We don't know.
We're
No,
not
I remember.
sure.
Is that where
I
the
remember
infamous
being in
hot tub was?
Pasadena.
Is the infamous hot tub in
That was
Pasadena?
Pasadena.
That was Pasadena because I remember very
Pasadena,
well
yes,
walking across the parking lot where the cast and crew parked every morning, and that was definitely in Pasadena.
Now, as far as some of the, I know that there was a lot of reshoots done. I guess Carpenter himself actually added some scenes. I believe you were in one of them, Pamela, the one in Sierra Madre. That's correct. Were any of you in any? Wasn't also you?
Yeah, I was
your
in the
death
added
scene was added.
Yeah. Now I think was that the claw hammer scene?
Yeah, the
I
claw
think
hammer
that
scene.
was. Yeah, because originally I was just strung up from the ceiling of the hospital.
Was that ever shown? The actual being hung up, or was it kind of
No, I
glorious?
think it was just Jamie Lee was trying to escape, and it was dark in there, and she was backing up, and she backed into the corpse while I was hanging, and turned around, and she screamed and freaked out and climbed out a small window that was there. And I don't know for sure, but as I recall, that I think was shot in the basement of the Lincoln Heights jail, but I did a couple other horror films down at the Lincoln Heights jail, so my mind's kind of cloudy, especially when they hang you from a harness. It gets very cloudy.
Were either Tawny or Gloria, were you involved in any of the reshoots?
No reshoots. I was dead.
No, just dead.
No, they drained my blood out of me. I was finished.
How
I was dead, but they brought me back to life for a reshoot.
How about any? Just out of curiosity, anybody keep anything from the film? Any of the props, nurse outfit, anything? Hot tub water, anything?
No, listen. This was a low budget film. Okay, it was a
They made sure they got it all back.
budget film. But I remember my first movie was California Suite, and it was a huge movie, and it was a lot of money, and we had a craft service table that was from one end to the other. And then I arrived at Halloween 2, which was my second movie, and I remember there were ice cream bars, and I thought, oh, this is another way to make movies, okay? And that was pretty much, so I don't think we got to take anything. No, I don't think
I think the only thing I kept was we had a wrap party down on Santa Monica Boulevard, and I think it was Crescent Heights in Santa Monica, was it? It was a roller skating rink or some kind of a roller skating rink, I think it was. And they gave us a bunch of orange T-shirts.
Well, we
That's
did have
the only thing I
Halloween 2
kept.
jackets and
Yeah,
things like
oh,
that.
that's that.
We
Jackets.
jackets.
Yes.
Let's wear them tomorrow.
Those are gorgeous.
I only got the T-shirt.
No, those jackets. Those jackets are great because I remember I got two because I got one for my son, and so I have two of them.
But anyway, we have any questions?
Of course, we have to discuss the hot tub scene.
Uh-oh, here we go.
I know that, Pamela, the towels, when he places his hand on your arm, it's wrapped around your shoulders, but then when your face is being dunked in the water, it just happens to make it down to your waist. I don't know how that happened very quickly, but I want to ask you, was it a stunt woman who was being dunked into the water, or if it was you, what was the longest time that you were kept underwater? I've always been, curious about that. Thanks.
Indeed, it was not a stunt woman. But I got stunt pay. I remember when Tawny, when Tawny, I think she was murdered first, and she got stunt pay, and I thought, ooh, this is good. I don't have any idea how that towel fell, but it would be almost impossible for that towel to have remained where it was with all that was going on. It took us 2 days to shoot that scene, and we started with the dunking first, with the latex on the face and all the grease and all of that. And I would say I was underwater not long enough for me to be scared because I had such trust in Dick Warlock, who was playing Michael Myers, but a long enough time that it was extremely uncomfortable. I mean, I ended up with an ear infection, and I'm sure you've all heard that the water was ice cold, and Leo and I were freezing in there, trying to be hot. But it was not scary because Dick had such control as a stuntman. He's just marvelous, and the way my head kind of became an extension of his arm. It was as though it was one piece. So when I was under the water, it looked so violent on screen, I think. I mean, it's really violent, and it was violent, getting slapped in the face with water, but he had such control of me that I never felt that I was in danger at all. I knew that he was just completely controlling every second of it. And we talked about it beforehand, about how long it would be and all this. But the reality is we shot it for 2 days, so I was underwater for the better part of 2 days.
This question is for Tawny. How was your death scene filmed, and how long did it take to shoot?
Let's see. I think it took 1 day, And we filmed it wearing a harness with wires and a little pulley device going over to the corner where a grip just kind of went like this. Pulled me off.
Because I heard you had to do it 15 times.
Did
Is that true? Really?
Is that true?
I read it on a website. Yes, I read it on a website. It said
No
you took 15
wonder
takes.
I had such
And
bruises.
you kept falling down and getting bruised and everything, so.
No, I was very bruised from that. Absolutely. So quite relieved to know that it was stunt pay.
Let's see. So, we got a question. Yes.
Yeah, my first question is for Gloria. What was it like to work with Jamie Lee Curtis? How was that? And was that really her arm that was being shot with the needle? Do you know?
Yeah, actually it was. But the thing is, I have to say, she's fabulous. I've worked with her twice. I did that, and then afterwards we did the Death of a Centerfold, the Dorothy Stratton story. And I've seen her many, many times. And then I worked with her husband, too, in Spinal Tap. And she is absolutely the easiest person to work with in the world. She is giving. She's so generous. She's smart. She knows what she has to do. She allows everybody their time. And she doesn't crowd you or upset you or, no matter how much had to be done, she could figure out a way to make it work. She's very, very, very smart. And I thought she was terrific. And then when I worked with her again, it was it's a pleasure. And if you run into her, and it's 20 years later, and you run into her at an event or anything like that, she's just as lovely as if it was yesterday. She's a very, very lovely person.
And
First day of shooting with Jamie Lee, when it came time for the lunch break, I went outside to go to the lunch wagon, and I heard somebody call out saying, "Cliff, do you want to eat that crap or do you want to ask for steak and lobster?" And she had a little hibachi set up where she was making steak and lobster instead of the stuff that was on the roach wagon. And the kind of person she is, I have a friend who takes care of an invalid and occasionally takes him out to his hospital visits. And he had him out at the hospital, I think it was in Santa Monica, because that's where the fellow lives. This was about 6 or 7 months ago. And my friend went to get the car and told his buddy to wait by the wall, and he's got a bad back. He's all hunched over, and he was in very, very bad pain. And this girl came up and said, "Can I help you? You look like you're in bad shape, and you need some help." And he said, "Well, a friend of mine has gone to get the car." She said, "Well, I'll wait here for you and take care of you." And it was Jamie Lee. So that's the kind of person Jamie Lee is. Mm-hmm.
You had another question?
Just one more question. If each of you could tell us which favorite moment is of yours in the movie, what your favorite moment, whether you were in it or not, of the movie, from the movie itself. Your favorite moment.
Start with Pamela, or you want to start over here?
Well, I'm pretty fond of the moment when Tawny's clogs fall off. I think that's probably my favorite moment. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's my favorite moment.
How about your favorite moment that you're in?
Oh,
Pam?
that I'm in?
Yeah.
Oh, well. What comes to mind is not anything that had even any dialogue, but after we've done the scene we're getting in I'm getting in the car and we're going to go. I'm late to work and Mrs. Alves is going to kill me and all of that. When I drive up to the hospital, there was just a moment where I get out of the car and put my clothes over my arm and look at my watch, and every time I see it, the way I slammed the door, just, I don't know, it just sticks with me. So whenever I look at it, I think, that was good. That was my moment.
Donnie?
Let's see, favorite moment. I think I have to admit that the death scene is probably my favorite moment. It was really fun to do, and it's been such a memorable scene that I've come to even be proud of it more now than I ever was when I first did it.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I don't know about the rest of you, but I agree with Tawny. When we first did it, it was kind of, especially my scene, my death scene was for me a little bit embarrassing to shoot, and there was a period where I regretted having done it, and yet now I'm really proud to have been part of this project because the fans are just so amazing and so sweet and so lovely, and the emails I get and just the people that I've met. It's just become a part of my life. So I really would like to actually thank you guys for being so supportive because it means a lot.
Ditto that, ditto that. It's been really great, really nice.
How about you, Cliff?
I think maybe my favorite moment was when I was watching the television monitor and Pamela Shoop walked in. An actor has what they call an inner monologue. I think mine was very lascivious at the time. And so that was one of my favorite moments.
That deleted scene from TV when you
Was
said
that deleted? I don't
the kids on dope. It's kids on dope.
Come to
Punks
think
on
of it,
dope,
what
yeah.
was I watching on that television screen?
I turned it on. It was on Monday, I guess, and I thought, oh, I'm supposed to go to this convention on Friday, and I turned it on, and there I was yelling at one of the nurses once again, and it's still my life, because I've been teaching at AFI for like 6 years, teaching directors and writers. I'm still yelling at people, and. But I think that I always love when Tawny shot that scene. That I love the hot tub scene because it's always good and it always scares the hell out of me when I watch it. And I always love when the clogs come off like that because it always makes me laugh. And I remember the day and I remember the shooting and I remember Rick spending so much time on it. And I love that. And I guess my favorite moment is it's just a one line in the movie. And I love when I walk in on Lance and Jamie Lee and I say, "Time's up, Jimmy." And that's one of my favorite moments, and I always love to say it.
I have one comment and one question. Having been in the hospital recently, I'm sad to say that unfortunately none of the nurses were as lovely and kind as the Haddonfield Hospital. But number two, my question for Pamela is, were you aware that you would have a nude scene in the film, and how comfortable were you with doing that?
Well, that's a good question, and that actually goes back to one of the very first comments, I think, in the beginning of this discussion, is the reason that I wasn't sure about doing the film was precisely because of the nude scene. I'd never done one, and I was really uncomfortable about it. I'm sort of a shy person to begin with, so it was a hard decision, actually, for me to accept the role because I just really wasn't sure I wanted to do that. But my agent at the time said, "Well, who do you think you are? Everybody else does them. Why would you think you're above that?" And I thought, "Oh, gee, sorry, okay." So it was a hard decision, but I was promised in my contract a closed set, and there would only be a few people in the hot tub room when we shot it. I was also promised a molding so that you couldn't see anything other than the top half. Well, I counted 19 people in that teeny weeny room. There were 19 crew guys in that room. And on day one, and I think also on day two.
Can you blame them, people, really?
Well, it was a
19 guys, but I think very few teeny weenies.
Well, to that end, Rick Rosenthal, I'm shy, what can I say? So Rick Rosenthal said, "Well, look, if it'll make you feel any better, we'll all, get undressed too. And, we'll all do this together." And nobody would. The crew refused to. Not one person took off so much as a T-shirt. And then I was actually to take off the molding so as I entered the hot tub. And they were assuring me that, "Oh, well, you'll never see anything." But I'd been a professional long enough to know that it would end up in dailies somewhere and some producer's cut somewhere, and I flat out refused.
Being sold in the dealer's room right now. No, I'm just kidding.
No, because I didn't. And I have to say, Deborah Hill was amazing. She went to bat for me on that, and we held up shooting for quite a while because I just knew I wasn't going to do it, and it was in the contract. And she stuck up for me, and it went back and forth with conversations with the agent, to Rick, to the producers. And she said, "Nope, we agreed to this, and you're going to have to find another way to shoot it." And so he did. And I really credit her with that. I have not had the privilege of working with her again, but as a woman producer, I think she was really an asset on that film. And I've always been grateful to her for that.
Thank you very much.
I just want to let you know, as an 11-year-old boy, to see that on the big screen.
Are you dating us?
It was. I appreciated it. Just want to let you know. I appreciated the effort that you made, and enough said. I think we actually have time for one more question, and so.
The first one to die in the movie that you guys starred in, after Michael steals the knife from those two elderly people, and he kills that girl. Why does he kill that girl? Because she doesn't seem to have anything to do with the movie or the plot. Why did Michael kill her? Do you know that?
I think that's what Michael does.
It was actually.
I mean, I think that's his purpose, and I think he's proved it in as many movies as we've seen Michael that's what he likes. You know, I mean, he'd have gotten some other people there if he could have too. You know, then he goes off. You know, anything that's in his way.
In the world of Halloween, that is the correct answer. However, the real answer is it was one of the reshot scenes. I mean, they wanted more gore, and it was one of the scenes that Carpenter added for.
I remember them adding that.
Yeah.
I'd just like to know about Halloween 2, with the news breaking out that Michael Myers was coming after Jamie Lee Curtis. How come there was not an extra security guard blocking the front door? Because there's only one security guard, which is you, Cliff. But it's just within reasonable doubt, like, to know that the news intensified about the story, and she was at that hospital. How come there's just no extra security heightened?
Just they weren't.
Didn't have the budget.
I don't think they were as good as they are now.
They didn't have the budget for more security guards.
That's it. And you all remember, and I know everybody knows that Dana Carvey was in that movie. And it's so funny because I remember sitting and talking to him because we had a lot of time to talk. And then years later, I'd look at his credits, and he never said Halloween 2. I can't wait to run into him one day.
It amazes me the amount of people that see this and the influence it has. About 7 months ago, I was going down the Pasadena freeway, and a fella cut me off. I hit my brakes. I hear a screech. I look behind me. I see a car spinning out of control. It lands in the divider and catches fire. I get off at the next off-ramp, and I call the 911, and I turn around and come back the other way and park across from all this carnage and mayhem. And I'm waiting. I said, find one of those officers over there from the Highway Patrol and tell them I got all the information they need on how this accident happened, because I was right in front, and the guy cut in front of me caused the whole thing. So they held me up for about 45 minutes, and finally this highway patrolman came behind me, parked his car. I rolled down my passenger window. He leaned in, and he says, before I ask you anything about this accident, what does Michael Myers look like under that mask?
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap it up. Let's give them a big hand, the cast of Halloween 2.
Thank you very much.
So you guys having fun?
Oh, sure.
First time for me. I had no idea what I'd been missing.
Yeah. You've been missed. You've been missed. So I think we'll start with you. How the idea come to your head, and what do you think about the following? And you're part of a 25-year-old history-making movie.
I mean, it's a complete trip because it was like all these people here. I mean, I was completely a fan of the series for, time immemorial. I was 12 years old when I was sitting in the living room of my house in 1981 watching the first NBC showing of Halloween, the original movie, and nobody else in the family wanted to watch it because it got too scary. So I sat there alone and in the dark and watched this and was terrified and then riveted. And from then it became a thing where I was completely engrossed with these films. And cut to when I was 19 years old and I got an audience with the great Mustafa Akkad, and through whatever connections I could muster.
We'll leave it there. That's
yeah,
twice.
leave it there. And I just was so bent on this. I mean, I let him know that I knew these films better than anybody in the world. At least I thought so at the time, until I met all of these people.
Yeah.
It was through that he remembered me 6 years later. It took them between Halloween 5 and 6 to get another film off the ground, and by whatever reason it was, I mean, I think they had gone through some other drafts and some other writers that weren't working out, and I think he was just sort of taken with my passion for this whole thing, and I got the opportunity to come in and pitch it. And I sort of said to him and to Paul Freeman and to Malik Akkad, I said, why don't we do something that's scary and psychological like Rosemary's Baby? And that was really the idea that got it started.
Now, I read somewhere you actually asked for it to be back here in South Pass. instead of
I
Utah?
wanted a lot of things. I was such a devout fan of the original movie, so I just kept kind of going back to the original. And as I was writing, I envisioned the Myers house that's up the street here. And I think even took some pictures of that house so that when they went scouting in Salt Lake City, where they intended to make the film, they would find something that looked very close to it. I think in Halloween 5, the house didn't look anything like the Myers house. So, we kind of went back to the idea of trying to get it back to the essence of the original Halloween.
I had a daughter who was, whatever age she was at, we were having difficulties. And she saw this movie and she said, I never forgot it. She said to me, now I know I saw the real you in that film. Just, Sheila was perfect for her at that point, But we're good friends now. And I'm not that way.
And he died so well.
Yeah.
But not easy.
Yeah, I understand it's a famous death scene.
Now, as his daughter, do you get along with him now?
I haven't seen him in 9 years.
Well, Janice.
Is this on?
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, you were telling me last night how you were in LA, moved to Salt Lake, or vice versa. So and you ended up in the film. So if you could touch on that a little.
Well, I lived in Redondo Beach and moved up to Salt Lake City. And about 2 months after I moved up there, I got a casting call. And I was brand new up there, I did one thing. And then this casting agent, we talked, and he said, I'm from LA. And I said, I just moved up here. And he said, wait a minute. You mean I came all the way to Salt Lake City to find somebody from LA to play this part? And I said, yep. So that's how it all got started, yeah.
Was that your real house?
Was
that really your house?
Oh, heavens, no. My house isn't anywhere near that nice. And I want to say something when I have the mic. I want Mike and Vince and the other Mike, Kenny, to stand up, and I want you guys to give them a hand. They are #1 fans, and I met them the first night I was here. Get up. And they gave... They gave me the courage to sit out at that table and have pictures in front of me because I never thought anybody would want my picture. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks. Do we have any questions? I'm going to open it up to the audience. Please get in line. Okay.
Well, first a comment for Bradford. I remember seeing 6, which is my favorite. Got the thorn tattoo, the whole 9 yards.
My favorite, too.
But I remember seeing in the theater, and 4 and 5 in the theater, and everybody always cringed and covered their eyes whenever Michael was after somebody. Everybody in the theater stood up and clapped when you died. What an awesome character. But no, you played it very well. And for Marianne, I just wanted to tell you, Jamie Lee wasn't here, but you were here. That's all that matters to me. Thank you for showing up.
Oh my God, thank you so much. That's so sweet.
This is from Mr. English. My wife and I are fans of yours, and ever since Halloween 6, a certain line has stuck out to us, and that is, I've had enough of this Michael Myers bullshit. Could you please say that for us? We'd greatly appreciate it.
I don't remember how I said it then, but I've had enough of this Michael Myers bullshit. Because he gets many, many more autographs than I do. Every one of them.
I was wondering if any of you had any opinions or thoughts on the producer's cut of Halloween 6 versus the theatrical.
Well, if you can sell it to me, I'd be happy to go to eBay and buy it from you because everybody's been buying it there for the past 8 years. I mean, I just don't understand why the studio doesn't release this other version of the movie. It's a better version.
Yeah, there is a petition out. On one of the tables I saw.
On my table.
Yeah, okay.
He put it.
They'd have to admit that they were wrong.
They were.
Hi. First, I wanted to thank you guys for being part of the best of the sequels, I think. And second is, Janice, I was wondering if you'd be able to recite your line, do you know why we celebrate Halloween?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was good.
But you have to promise me that if I've forgotten anything, you will prompt me.
Sure, absolutely.
And then I'll do it once through, And if I do it again, will you do it with me?
Sure.
Because I think a lot of you know it. Okay. Do you know why we celebrate Halloween? Oh, a long time ago, it was a night of great power when the spirits of the dead would come home hoping to warm themselves by the fireside. Oh, huge bonfires were lit all over the land. People had, it was such a marvelous celebration. People danced, and they played games, and they put on costumes, hoping to ward off the evil spirits, especially the boogeyman. But wait, wait. Do you hear the voice? Do you hear the voice? That's the voice that little Mikey Myers heard the night he murdered his sister. The voice told him, kill your whole family.
Excuse me, I'm leaving. This woman is too good.
Oh, good. They wouldn't let me do that. In the movie. Ever since I learned how to do it, my grandkids are all, they don't even wait till Halloween. Grando, do that laugh for me.
I had no idea that monologue would have such legs.
Goosebumps.
Again, would you do it with me?
No. In round.
All right, never mind. Thanks.
It was great.
Kim, now this was your first Halloween film, but not your first horror film. So what was the experience like for you?
I had a great time. I had a great time on it, and I can remember hanging upside down, but that's about all I remember.
She
Or
came
was that another
falling out of
movie?
the hatch in the
Okay,
sort of the,
all right.
the attic hatch when
Yes.
she conveniently walked by in the body like in all Halloween
Oh,
movies.
yeah,
It
yeah.
drops
the
out
Halloween
at the right
body
moment.
dropped down, yes. But I did something with stunts or something that I had to do with stunts. But I was well taken care of.
You certainly were.
And Marianne, what was that fall? How did you do that fall?
I did not do that fall. Believe it or not, that's a stunt double. And had I done the fall, I would not have flown out of the window in a swan dive. I would have tried to make it look a little bit more realistic if someone's actually jumping out of a window. But, I don't get paid the big bucks to do stunts, so I really have no say in the matter.
But you would have done it. Had they paid you, they would have. You'd have done that stunt, right?
No way.
Now, the tradition of the Halloween seems to be, real neighborhood, streets, stores. Was that what it was like for you guys? Did you actually use a real neighborhood, or was it a set?
No, it was a real neighborhood.
Yeah. I think that adds a lot to the films. I think I agree. That's what I love. I mean, especially those of you guys who went on the tour just for the first movie. I mean, isn't that better than going on a back lot somewhere? Yeah.
And one of the things I remember about Halloween 6 was that it was interesting is that it was all shot at this time of year, and it was freezing, and it started snowing early in Salt Lake City when we shot it. But the leaves were all real, so we didn't have to, like the other Halloween movies, like get a bunch of fake leaves and like dump them and then collect them again and reuse them. They were all there. And I seem to remember like the set was almost like this reversal. The interior of where Tommy Doyle lived in the Mrs. Blankenship house was actually shot inside of the house that was used as the Myers house. So technically when he was looking across the street, he was looking at the opposite direction. He was looking at the other house. It was the house we were supposed to be in. So that's interesting. Yeah.
I've had a job raking those leaves every year since. The people pay well.
Do we have any more questions?
This question's for Kim. Loved you in Better Off Dead.
Thank you. Thank you.
You made me crack up in that movie, but in the Halloween movie, you seemed like you really got into being a person for horror flicks. Is this a new avenue that you're maybe moving to kind of get into another horror flick?
Well, I just finished doing one called The Storyteller. So I'm not quite sure, but don't be afraid of the dark and this movie, and I can't think of any others. It may be.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
How about working with Donald Pleasance on the last one? How was that for everybody?
Great.
Really wonderful.
An honor.
He's amazing. And this series is not the same without him. I have to say.
It's hard to find a replacement for Donald. I mean, he was very unique, and he brought a lot of class to the franchise.
He did.
Go ahead.
First, I want to say it's great to see you all here. Wow. We've hit all the other panels with this. Now it's your turn. What would be your absolute favorite moments of the film?
I have no doubts about my favorite moment. I don't know about the rest of you.
We'll start with Kim.
I guess when I was running through the sheets and I lost my glasses, it seemed to get me prepared for everything else.
I think slapping Marianne was fun. But actually, my most fun one, and I you see some of the dailies, but I don't usually watch films, so I haven't seen. I mean, I don't watch my own films. It just feels funny to me. But I remember. So I don't know how it was in the movie, but my favorite moment in the movie was when I was pinned up against the. All the sparks and fire going on, and George Wilbur's looking at me. I don't know if the camera showed this. I mean, they must have come around, but I'm against the wall, and he's looking at me, and he's going, "There's this curious little boy-like thing, what's going on?" That was my favorite.
Michael Trademark.
And then when Paul paid me, that was.
No, one of my favorite parts, besides the "Do you know what all?" was the end that's in the producer's cut, when there are 5 or 6 of us that are in the cult, by the way, dressed up in those weird cult costumes, and we're in this huge big barn. It had been a mill, and we had candles all lit all over the place. So many candles that we lit the place on fire, and we had to get out in a hurry and reshoot. But that cult ending with all the costumes was really creepy.
I personally love the scene where Marianne sees Beth in the window, and it's kind of a sort of a very rear window scene where she says, "He's in the room, get out." I thought that was like very John Carpenter style Halloween.
That's my favorite moment, too.
I wanted to know one more thing. Sorry to put you on the spot, but Marianne, you've made this trip worthwhile for me, personally. You're like the greatest. I wanted to know if you would give me a squeeze.
Absolutely.
Now that's a fan.
That's just great.
I'd like to know if any of you have any comment on how the storyline kind of left off at 6 and that 7 and 8, for lack of a better word, disregards the 4, 5, 6, and if you think that, down the road they should bring the two together and kind of explain the two different storylines.
There's actually 3 storylines if you think about it, or 4 if you incorporate 3.
We don't talk about 3.
Oh, okay.
I think they should start a 4th and then bring it together after that.
Yeah.
Actually, in the script to Halloween 6, there was a lot of nods to Halloween, the other Halloween movies, but there was a scene that it didn't make it, but where Brad's character came home and was supposed to turn the television on, and Halloween 3 would have been playing. And sort of what they did in Halloween 3, they had Halloween 1 and relegated it to just a movie. And I thought, well, let's just do the same thing and get him back for that.
I keep reminding them that Mrs. Blankenship never died in the movie.
That's good to know.
Yeah, right.
It's on a resume.
Because we had created the role of the son to Jamie Lee, it took a different course. And out of that came Josh Hartnett, who has since become a big movie star. So we launched his career in Halloween.
All right, I just want to say I'm glad to see all of you guys here, like, together, because, like, for some of the other movies, you know, there's a couple people representing from each movie. So, like, to have everybody here, like, you don't see anybody from H2O, but, like, to see everybody from that movie that was, like, made a big difference here, I'd like to thank you guys for that. Also, Mr. Strode, you like made this huge impact on me. One thing, I'm happy.
You don't beat your kids, do you?
No, I don't want to squeeze or anything, okay? I don't want to squeeze. You kind of
You
like
could send up a substitute.
Yeah, you kind of like made me happy and mad at the same time. Basically, you were like this big tough guy, you know, and like when I was younger, I was always scared of Michael, so I thought you were gonna be the one to get him for me, but you know, you didn't. Whatever, but just thank you, made a big impact on me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we want to thank everybody, and especially the cast of Halloween 6. You have a big following. I'm honored to be up here with you. And please enjoy the rest of the convention, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
From Halloween Part 4 and Part 5, Miss Ellie Cornell. Can you just tell us, maybe in just your own words, like how you got the part?
I had been living in, I have to preface just by saying this is such a treat to be here. This is only my second public appearance on behalf of the Halloween franchise, and I'm just thrilled to be here. It's so much fun. When I got Halloween 4, they screen tested me on a Friday down in Studio City, and I had done some odds and ends. I had gotten into the Screen Actors Guild Union at that point doing commercials in New York. Obviously, this was my first lead role that I was reading for. And I had to wait all weekend, and they told me the role was mine, I think, by the following Tuesday. And for Danielle Harris and I, that film was a boot camp in many ways, because I think the total shoot was maybe 41 or 42 days, and we might have worked 38 of them. So it was a long, arduous project, but we loved it, and Mustafa took incredible care of us. And, of course, Dwight Little did an amazing directing job, I think.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Now, did you know that you would be asked back for Part 5? When you finished wrapping Part 4, did you feel, okay, I think we've got something going here, and it's going to continue on? And if so, how did you feel about your character being killed off in Part 5?
After we did 4, we were thrilled that it did so well. I think we were number 1 for 3 weeks.
Yes,
I
you
can't
were.
remember, but
No,
it made
I think it was actually 4 weeks.
well, it made a pile of money. But what was going to happen next, I didn't really know. They sent me the script for Halloween 5, and I read it, and I didn't love it. Not just because they killed me off, because I was surprised I lived through 4. I mean, I think for any character to live through these films from start to finish is something pretty cool. But it was the way that they killed off Rachel in the first go-around. I was supposed to get scissors shoved down my throat, and I said, no way. So they rewrote it, and they sweetened the deal, and I said I'd do it. But 4 was where my heart was.
Did you ever actually verbalize to them that you didn't want to get killed off?
No, because it's inevitable. I mean, it's one of those lucky privileges you get in being in a really great horror film, is that you know your demise is inevitable. But I don't know. I think 4 stands on its own. I think it had the most. I loved what Mustafa said about it's what you don't see, and I really feel like Dwight Little honored that in 4. It wasn't just well written; it was just really, really good and scary. And I don't
Were
know.
you already a fan of horror films, in particular Halloween, before you?
I was
you got it?
I was a huge fan of Halloween 1. I wasn't following the other franchises too much. I remember when Halloween 4 came out. I was in line to read for the lead, I think, in Nightmare on Elm Street, and I was glad I got this one. Truly, it's been it was great.
Definitely, you fit into the whole feel and family of Halloween very well, and it was
Thank you.
really sad.
And I'm sorry Danielle Harris isn't here. I would love to see her. I just saw Sasha Jensen upstairs, and it's like old home week. It was really fun.
That's a good point that you brought up, Sasha Jensen. Your chemistry with him was a big part of what made the movie so enjoyable. The characters and the arc you two had.
Sasha and I went on to do a film together right after that on ABC, an after-school special, and it was. I'm not even sure the producers knew we had just done a film together, but it was pretty incredible to go turn around and do another film back to back with them. It was great.
Okay, so how comfortable were you with each other before you started having, scenes together where you were,
Dwight made us. Sorry. Dwight Little made us go behind the trailer and practice. And I was like, practice what? He just said, when you come, he just wanted it to look like, we had smooched before. It's not an easy feat, folks. I don't care how cute he is. It's hard. It's hard to get in front of the whole,
Actually, Sasha did admit that yesterday. That
What?
That
What did he say?
No, that it took some doing. That he was actually the provoker.
That he was really acting?
Yes. That
Get
he,
his ass
yes.
down here. I want to talk to him.
He felt that, he wanted to bring in the method acting.
Well, I was
definitely.
acting too, Sasha.
No. He just used it as an excuse, he said.
No, the thing I liked about Rachel Carruthers is she, I'm not comparing myself to Jamie Lee's character, but I liked playing her because she wasn't, she was smart, she was feisty, she was courageous, and it's really an honor to play that kind of role. It was really fun.
You really took a beating in the movie, too. You really did. You put up quite a fight, and you were really tough.
All right, the rooftop scenes were cool. At one point, and it's now it's on the internet somewhere, but at one point, sliding down that roof, that was a roof they had built out in the desert outside of Salt Lake City. For the sake of doing these night shoots, they built this rooftop for Danielle and I to roll around on. And at one point, I did get sliced, up my tummy with the nail, but it wasn't as gory as the stories make it out to sound. But I like the way Rachel can fall off a rooftop and then get up and keep chasing him. That was cool.
I just mentioned your chemistry you had with Sasha Jensen, and just the same chemistry you had with Daniel Hirsch right from the first scene. Did that take some rehearsing? Did you get to know each other beforehand? Because it really seemed like you had a sister relationship.
We didn't know each other beforehand, but here we were thrown into this thing together, and we had the same kind of grueling schedule. And at one point, we turned when it flipped over to night shots. It's a huge adjustment in a lot of different ways, and we were both learning tremendous amounts. And I don't know, we just got close, naturally. It was great fun, and we all holed up in the same hotel together, so we saw a great deal of each other.
Yeah, she said great things about you yesterday,
She
too.
did?
Yeah, you were very missed yesterday at the Halloween 4 panel, but we're glad
Nobody
to have you
asked me to
today.
be on the panel.
But I just lost my train of thought here. Can you tell us about your production company?
I'm part of a production company in Culver City called Mindfire Entertainment. We've done a film with William Shatner called Free Enterprise that ran on the Sci-Fi Channel and HBO. It's a great film, and about a week later, it stars Eric McCormack. A week later, he got Will and Grace. Then we did a film with Rob Lowe called The Specials, which was very funny, and a couple weeks later, he got West Wing. So we really have a Midas touch with our actors.
And what do we have to look forward to?
We have a film in the theaters now called House of the Dead, based on a Sega video game, and that was released 3 weeks ago. And I'm in that, and the zombies eat my legs off, so I get killed in that one too. So I won't be back for the sequel.
Okay, just to backtrack a little bit, I forgot what I was going to ask. Kathleen Kinmont. Now, it was a great kind of rivalry you guys had there as well.
She was a tough competitor, right?
How much of that was actually acted? How much
It was all acting.
It was very believable.
Oh yeah,
believable,
we had
yeah.
a great time. It was nothing but laughs offset. I mean, there's not a negative thing I can say about it. And the whole experience was just great.
Yeah,
she was really cool.
She really said very nice things about you yesterday as well. No, she did.
Why
She
are you
really
guys
did. It was
laughing?
funny.
Okay, what did she say?
No, actually,
Who's gonna have
I'll
the
quote her. The
best-
first thing she said is like, "Well, obviously that bitch isn't here."
Did she say diva?
And then she just took it back and she said, "You guys got along great. You guys had a lot of fun doing it.
We had a great time.
Yeah, it was definitely fun to watch, like I said. And just for those of you who don't know, that is going to be playing at the Rialto tonight, Halloween 4 at midnight. We played the original Halloween last night, and we're playing the second best tonight, Halloween 4. And
Was the tour fun? Did anyone go on the home tour? That sounded so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was on one of the buses.
What fun.
Okay, why don't we open up the floor to some questions for Ellie? If anyone has any questions, just go up to the mic.
Ellie?
Yes?
Can you recite a line for me?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Do you have any particular scene or a line in?
I'll tell you
or
my
just-
favorite. I'll tell you my
there
favorite
we
line
go.
because it was by far my dumbest. Quite honestly, I didn't have many dumb lines, but this is a real dummy. It's the scene where I'm outside of the schoolhouse. I believe I've just got Michael Myers with a fire hydrant in the face, and I run out and I've got Danielle in my arms, and the whole cavalry is parked in the parking lot. It's a huge scene. And I come out, y'all aren't going to think this is funny, but damn it, you had to be there, okay? So I come out with, with Danielle, and the head of the sheriff says, "Where is he?" And I say, "In there." And he says, "Where?" Duh. I said, "In the school." I mean, no shit, I'm standing in front of the school. It's just like the scene. It was like a 45-minute scene just to say, "Where is he?" He's in there. Okay, so anyway. I had a lot of good lines, but that was my silliest.
Next question. Oh, also before the next question, Ellie will be judging our best scream contest as soon as we're done up here. Okay.
Have y'all already picked the screamers? How do I know?
Yeah,
who's
they signed
screaming?
up, so there'll be
Okay,
10.
good. What do they win?
screamers.
What do they win? I need to know that.
I'm not sure. Probably something really cool. A date with you, maybe. We have some guys signed up.
Hi,
Hi.
I just wanted to say that this is really great seeing you in
Oh, thank you.
person. And I saw it at House of the Dead a few weeks ago. And I
God
thought
love you. Thank
well,
you.
It's doing okay.
I didn't direct it. I was just in it and produced it.
I liked it. But
Okay.
what I thought was really cool is in House of the Dead, you say, "Die, you son of a bitch," almost exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
That
like
was
in-
owed to Rachel Carruthers. You're like the only person that has said that to me.
I
Of
thought
course
that was
I have
really
to say
awesome.
that. Was that a great part?
Oh,
Sorry.
it was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I stuck that in. No, I love that. Die, you son of a bitch, and I stick in there and I ram him. I just love that part. And the funny thing is that the reality of it is I was sitting in this pickup truck, and the grips had huge slats of wood underneath the truck, and they were jumping on it to make it look like I was driving. I mean, it was movie making at its finest. And then they add the head getting torn off, and it's just remarkable what they can do. It was great fun. Question?
Hi, Ellie.
Hi.
I heard you saying in the special features of Halloween 5 that you didn't think very much of the scissors in the throat for the death of...
Lousy.
What would you have liked better? Because it seems that, even Jamie Lee Curtis'
That
resurrection...
Rachel lives.
But good point. But if you had to pick something, because unfortunately, even though it wasn't Danielle, Jamie died, and then Laurie died, and even Loomis, and but what would you have picked?
That's a good question, and no one's asked me that before. So, just off the cuff, I think what would have been really cool. I knew she had to die, and I was prepared. But I think what would have been really cool is if it had been. I mean, if it was so hard for him to get me, then it should have been hard for him to kill me. And I just felt like
at least
he
even
trapped me
Mustafa
with the-
said in
Is that my phone ringing? Oh no, that's yours. Sorry.
Ellie that his biggest mistake in Halloween 5 was that Ellie shouldn't have died so soon.
Who said that?
Mustafa in the Halloween 5 features.
I know.
He said,
When I saw him backstage, he said, "Did we kill you?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was. He definitely said it was his biggest mistake to kill Ellie so soon.
No, that's okay. I just think it would have been really cool to have it, not drawn out because I'm not the story, but just to make it a little bit harder than it was. I felt like he got me with a little wrapped around the towel. I mean, that entire 20 minutes of 5, I'm wrapped in a towel.
Yeah. Was that you in the shower, by the way? In the
I have
frosted
no
shower?
idea what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Oh.
It was me and the cameraman, and that's all.
Okay,
Not
wonderful.
even the big cheese could be in there with us.
And I have one more kind of dumb question.
What? No question's dumb.
Oh, okay. Okay, you're talking about the schoolhouse scene.
Yeah. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, I know definitely what you're talking about. But,
Yeah.
okay, this is the thing I'm curious about. Okay, Jamie's in there with Loomis by herself.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Loomis bumps into Michael, and Michael has a head full of white hair. Do you know any reason why that is? I kind of thought in my head that they might have been shot after, like you shot him with the fire extinguisher, which is why his head would be white.
That's the only thing I
But
can
like he
think
bumps
of.
into him backwards, and he's like has a head full of white
That's
hair. and it's
interesting.
like,
I'll have to
what
look
the-
for that. Maybe it was a flub. But
Yeah,
they were very strict about that mask. I'm telling you. That
Yeah, that's
mask
why I was like, it
the
stayed
holy-
pretty
the
consistent,
holy
except for that
grail.
one
I mean, it
white
was-
hair part. I'm like, well, maybe. Yeah,
Maybe it was because of my foam, the foam from the fire extinguisher.
Could be. That's what I was thinking. I was like, well, maybe they shot something differently out of order, and then, oh, screw it, put the mask on, and we got to go home or something.
Good
All right,
question.
great. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Actually, you had the honor of working with Donald Pleasance quite
Oh, I
closely.
did. He
Can
was
you
great.
tell us a little bit about?
Hey, he was the consummate professional. I mean, he stayed in a separate hotel from the riffraff, and he was just great. I mean, it's, what can I say? I was really, really honored. I feel lucky,
What was the atmosphere around the set as far as when you guys were just kind of hanging out between takes?
It was very professional, and I think it's because the producers have had so much experience in this kind of stuff. But if you don't keep a tight set and keep the morale high, you don't get your shots, and the money runs high. And so they kept things very tight, and the expectations were high, but it was a pretty jovial deal. I mean, everyone was psyched to be there, and we were in Salt Lake for the whole duration. I don't know. It was really professional.
Well, I think most of us would agree that Halloween 4 definitely holds its own in the series. It's like I've said it many times already. It's my favorite outside of the original.
It's also playing on the AMC. My mom watched it on Friday.
Oh yeah, it's great, and just having you here is a great honor.
Oh, it's
Thank
my
you
pleasure.
so much.
Well, what we'll do here is we'll just we'll go through. I'm going to go through a couple standard questions, and I'm sure these guys are going to have all the questions. So let's just, why don't we start with Jim? We'll go down the row of find out just a little bit how each one of you actually got the role.
Oh boy, that's a good question. Well, I fell into it. And,
boom.
I got a call from Deborah Hill saying that they needed somebody because they were having some problems. I was working at Warner Brothers at that time running a show, and so I made arrangements and I went down to Hollywood to the location, and around 7 p.m. at nighttime, and then they finally told me what they wanted me to do. So we worked interior, then John told me how he wanted to do this and how to do that, and so I ended up getting shot and went over the balcony, wrapped all my equipment, and went back to my show.
Yeah, my story, I was Kurt Russell's double for 25 years, and with that I did Escape from New York, where I met John and Deborah. When we finished that picture, Deborah Hill called me and said, we're doing a little horror movie, we'd like you to be the stunt coordinator. So I went over to meet the director, Rick Rosenthal, and on the way down the hall to his office, there was an empty office except for a desk, and the mask was laying on the desk in there. So I just walked in, got the mask, put it on, walked to his doorway, and just stood there and looked at him. And he said, well, who are you? And I didn't answer. I just stared at him. And he said, who the hell are you? And so I took it off. I introduced myself, and we had our little meeting. And on the way out, I still got the mask in my hand. I said, is there any reason why I can't play this guy? And he looked me up and down, and it didn't take him long. I'm so short. And he says, no, I don't care if Deborah doesn't care. So I walked over to Deborah Hill and asked her, and she said, sure, that's fine with me. That's how I got the job of Michael Myers.
George?
I'm one of many clones of Dick Warlock here. From him, they chose bigger and smarter Michael Myers. but the truth is that I was second choice for Michael Myers part on Halloween 4, but my coordinator, Fred Lerner, out of many interviews he had with various guys, I was next in line to be the new Michael Myers. Make a long story short. And I'm sure Tom Morgan would add to this.
Well, no, I started number 4, and Fred Lerner was the coordinator, and he was looking for a Michael Myers and asked me about it, and I was right size, and I'd done some things with him before, so he asked me to do the movie. I said, fine. So we went to Utah. We did the first part of the film, and then they had some trouble with filming. They were going to change their DP and something else, and they decided maybe they wanted to have Michael look a little bigger or something, and they never really told me the whole story, but they brought in George. They said, well, now George is going to do the rest of the movie, so thanks a lot. And I said, well, okay. So that was my story. I was in and out pretty quick.
Mine's not very long. Don Pike, who was the coordinator on 5, called me and wanted to know if I was available for work, and I said, yeah. He didn't tell me what it was. And he just said, well, we're going to be filming this movie and blah, 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 and this and that. And, and I didn't even know it was the Michael Myers character. And that's pretty much how I got the job.
From my understanding on H2O, since it was the anniversary, I read, they had gone and looked at a whole bunch of actors because it was a special one, and weren't happy with any of them, and had said, traditionally we've used a stuntman for this, let's go back to that. And Donna Keegan, who doubles Jamie Lee Curtis, was running the show as well, and she said, I'm going to give you 5 guys to look at. I'm not going to do a cattle call. All of them are qualified. So I went in on the interview, didn't think much of it, and I found out later it came down to me and one other guy, and it essentially, the tiebreaker was, who do you want to hang out with for the next 3 months? And I guess I had made a good impression, and they gave me a call.
Can you hear me? First AD that I'd been working with on a kids show for Fox called Los Luchadors was interviewing with the Halloween people, and I guess during the interview they mentioned to him that they weren't sure who their Canadian Michael Myers was going to be. They were also looking for a Canadian stunt coordinator to work with Donna Keegan, and I got a phone. So this gentleman said to them, "Well, you should talk to Brad Laree." So I got a phone call from the production manager, a lady named Tracy Long, and on the phone she said, "Brad, how tall are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm 6'2.5". She says, "Oh, perfect. Could you come in tomorrow to meet the executives?" And the next day I went in and met Rick and Malik and all the gang, Paul Freeman, and we did the walk a number of times. And Rick said, "Yeah, this guy should work out fine." And next thing I knew, I was on a plane flying down here to get my head cast for the mask, and that's how it all worked out.
I went to work on a Married with Children one day, and I meet a guy here. His name is Don Shanks, and he says, "So you're Dick Warlock. How come you don't do the conventions?" "What conventions?" Then he explained it to me. Oh, well, that's not too shabby. So I procrastinated about it, and another guy kept pushing and pushing. And sure enough, I got a hold of a guy from Fangoria magazine, Tony Tipone. You might all know him. He put me into the first convention, and I found out these fans are terrific, man. I could learn to really like this. So here I am, and I'm so grateful to Don for introducing me to this concept. I dig it. It's fun. Thank you.
Total amazement to me, the fact that Michael Myers' character can create a whole new business out there, a way to generate money. It's fantastic, and I'm sure surprised and amazed how many fans for Michael Myers are out there. I'm totally amazed that it continues.
I'm good friends with Dick Warlock, and we worked together a lot. As a matter of fact, we did a movie that was called Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. And Dick was the coordinator, and he called me and several people in, and we all did a thing for the director, and I got picked to do Jason. So we did the Jason 5 movie, and that was kind of great. We had no idea that was going to turn into something that would be like a cult thing, too. And then years down the line, I had done a lot of Star Trek. I'd started with Star Trek, the motion picture. I doubled Spock, and then I did every one of the Star Trek series from the Next Generation on. And so I've had over 100 of those episodes, and I've been asked to do some of the Star Trek conventions. So I was familiar with the conventions, but I had no idea. Dick comes up to me and says, well, you did this thing. You gotta do it. So pretty soon he calls me and he says, well, I'll get you in on something and we'll get together. And by God, we did one about a year ago, and it was a great time. And so here I am. And thank you very much.
Well, I knew the films were popular, but I didn't know that they had so many fans. You know, and it wasn't until after I'd done Part 5 and Mustafa had asked me to go out and promote it that I found out how many fans there actually was and how loyal they are. And after 25 years, I mean, it still holds up. There's still probably some of the most scary movies made, and the people still love them. They watch them over and over and over. And, you know, you're the reason why we're up here, because of the fans. And
I actually had a slightly different story for mine since it was a 20th anniversary movie. I had a concept also like Don of how popular these movies were in general, but I didn't think much of it when I landed the part. And it wasn't until about 2 weeks into it when we're on location, and I'm getting continually approached by fans from every walk of life. I've got doctors and sheriffs and lawyers and little kids coming up who all know all the movies and who are all asking me questions that I don't know the answers to because it was all of their work, that I kind of got a real clue that this was a big deal. And again, it's wonderful to do, and it is you guys that really sustain it and make it popular. So thank you.
A gentleman from Fangoria magazine interviewed me, and he said, Brad, do you have any idea what you're in for once this film comes out? And I says, no, not really. What do you mean? He said, well, there's going to be a lot of press involved, interviews and conventions and whatnot. And I go, oh, okay. But this is my very first. And actually, it was Mr. Warlock that started emailing me and was kind of putting me in mind of doing this sort of thing. But Anthony Massey is the first person to approach me. And all I can say is after all the wonderful people I've met this week, and I'm sure hoping to do a whole lot more of these because they're a great deal of fun. And it's really nice, as a movie fan myself, to get to meet all of you. So thanks very much for coming out.
Why don't we open it up to the fans, because I'm sure you guys got a lot of questions. So let's go, if you want to line up at the microphone. And we have the first. Fire away.
I was just wondering for each Michael Myers, what's your favorite kill scene for each of you?
Well, I guess Jim's would have to be his own because he fell out the way.
The favorite scene in the movie. Let's see, there's the titles.
Your favorite.
My favorite. I have to be honest with you. I think the kids did a heck of a job. Those little kids playing Michael at the beginning and the kids playing inside. I really enjoyed watching them to see how they were going to react to the direction of John Carpenter and watch their attitudes when not knowing what was going on in the other rooms and then seeing the final product. And I think the kids probably had a greater time than I did because I was there strictly for a few hours doing a lot of things because of short time. But I think the kids were the most impressive thing with me, watch them and how their attitude with doing a horror movie of the type of movie John Carpenter and Deborah Hill did. Thank you.
When you say the kids, you mean like Jamie Lee and the younger actors, right?
Yeah, the younger actors, right. I think that was watching them because they made the story. I don't think I think the scariness and all the stuff that John put and the way Dean Cunny shot it and the shadows and the light, I think, but the children and the teenagers that were involved in their storyline was more exciting to me to see their characters build and how they made the show gel together when they cut it.
How about you, Dick?
Well, for me, I didn't have anything to do with Gloria Gifford's death. She was dead. She drained, the blood was drained out of her. I had a little bit to do with Tawny Moyer, and I enjoyed the heck out of that. But I think my favorite is with Pamela Susan Shoop and the hot tub scene.
Any particular reason?
No, wait.
Hey now.
Say no more.
You got it all wrong.
That's everybody's favorite scene, Dick.
Not
Come on
that
now.
that wasn't beautiful.
Dick, say no more.
And did you look?
Is my wife in the room anywhere? I don't. No, but she's a beautiful person, and I had to work more closely with her than anyone else with putting the head down and back. She actually did all the work. I think she attributes it to me, but it wasn't. I just put my hand on her back, and when she was ready to go, we went. When she was ready to come back, she came back. But I think that was my favorite kill scene in the entire movie was Pamela Susan Shoop, and I love her. She's a great gal. Oh, you got it.
Well, George, you got 2 movies to pick from, so what was your favorite?
I'll speak in general. I got to thank the cast and people and producer to insist on the beautiful ladies that they provided for Michael Myers' victims. Every one of them, fantastic. I hated to do it, but it was nice. That was always a treat for the Michael Myers character.
Well, I didn't do a whole lot of killing, but I think the most fun for me was when I was driving the tow truck and crashing out of the garage and trying to kill Donald Pleasance, even though I didn't. That was probably the most fun for me.
My favorite kill, was kind of twofold. We used all real weapons when we were doing it, so that's one of my specialties is working with edge weapons. So when I put the pitchfork through the guy's back and then killed the girl with the sickle, that was my favorite. And they were all real.
You didn't actually see me kill a lot of people. You saw the aftermath more than anything. But I think my favorite was Jody Lynn O'Keefe in the kitchen. But I have to say it's actually the chase, which is more fun.
My favorite kill scene, that's a toss-up, but I'd have to say the stunt and scene we did with Jamie Lee going over the edge of the roof, stabbing her in the back, and of course getting the kiss before she fell to her death. That was definitely my favorite kill scene.
And I just wanted to say you guys all did such a great job. Tom, you've played my 2 favorite horror characters, Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers, and nobody would be here without you guys and the job you did. So good job.
I was just wondering, who do you think would win a fight between Jason and Michael?
Michael.
Hey, please.
Maybe, hey, I got an
Jason's
idea.
a mama's boy.
I got an idea.
Send him home.
I got an idea. Let's have Tom beat himself up and see.
He'll fight himself.
I don't know. I had to work on myself for a while.
Well, if I played Michael, Jason would definitely win.
What's the most fun all you have had on set? Like, whilst filming Halloween?
I don't know. I think just working with the people, getting to know the people, that you have to kill, and then whacking them.
And also, Brad, what's the worst injury you sustained as your stunt coordinator? The worst injury you've ever had?
Worst injury? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Worst injury you've had as a stuntman?
A broken back?
Nasty.
Fractured back, yeah.
Broken arm.
Ain't broke anything, Tom?
I broke my finger.
Ow!
I'm a pretty safe stuntman.
It only hurts me when a chick comes to the house late.
Well, I separated my shoulder on rollerball, but nothing compared to these guys.
I don't really know how, because I've been hurt so much. I don't know. My ex-wife hit me. In fact, I think Dick tried to run me over one time.
Also, may I take a group photo of you? Take a group photo of you?
Yeah, run up and let's get to the next question. Snap away while we're going.
Okay, the first thing I want to say is you all are very appreciated. Thank you. And then I have two things from Mr. Warlock. The first is the scene where you get shot in the eyes and the blood comes out of your eyes. How did that effect happen?
Inside the mask, they put 2 copper tubes that ran up the back, right? And they ran right over in the top of each eye hole. And I had a bulb. They were down to, I had a bulb in my hand full of food coloring and the blood makeup. And on cue, I just squeezed it and let it go and just did this with my hand. That's how they did that. Thank you. What's the second question?
And also, one of the most frightening things I've seen in all the series was your chase scene in Halloween 2 through the parking lot and through the hospital itself. What I was wondering is if you could still actually do that walk, that nice, slow, methodical walk.
Well, I don't know. I got real bad knees. Watch this, guys.
Okay.
Unbelievable. We still got it.
I think
that's real talent.
I think probably the best thing that he ever created is just the tip of his head, where he.
Copied. I stole that. I have to tell you. I think I stole that from Nick or whoever happened to be that character in the first movie. But that's where I got that. So I can't take credit for it.
Malika Cod insisted on doing it in all the movies, which was great.
Okay.
It's hard to think of a question to ask you guys that hasn't already been asked. So I just want to commend everybody for bringing a uniqueness to the character for each installment. You guys did a great job, and let's get around. Come on.
Thank you.
That was the Ukraine speaking.
And I wanted to thank all the shapes for all the entertainment that you guys have given us over the years. I mean, it's been great. I mean, there's no other horror movie villain like you, really. I mean, all of you guys. And I do have a question. I wanted to know just how hot does that mask get?
Very much so. You can't even breathe in it. It's good for maybe 10 minutes, and you got to take it off.
All right. Well, that's interesting. Thank you.
Mine was anyway.
Nobody seemed to disagree. So.
Gentlemen, thank you for all the years of terror and sleepless nights and looking under my bed before I went to bed, and thank you. My girlfriend, who couldn't be here, told me to ask this question and has been asking me every day if I would ask it, so I'll ask it. She wants to know what Michael Myers wears underneath the jumpsuit.
Leave it to a woman to ask that question, right?
Anyway, absolutely
go
nothing.
As Clinton would say, box shorts.
I wear a kilt.
Stole your line.
Mine was jockey shorts and a green T-shirt.
Speedos.
Calvin's.
A smile.
I like to see him smile that way.
Every Friday when the payroll check comes around.
This question is for Mr. Warlock. What was it like for you to be on fire?
What was the question again?
What was it like for you to be on fire?
I'm gonna say hot.
Oh, to be on fire, yeah. It was hot, baby. 2 times I was hot. But that's about it. I mean, I'd done a lot of fire work. Fire starter. In fact, I won an award from the first initial Stuntmen's thing that they did for fire starter. Thank you very much. Just throw money. I didn't sell many pictures today. No, it's a dangerous thing, but it's like a dance routine. The stunts that all these guys do, they're like dance routines. They rehearse them. They work as much of the danger out of them as they can, and then it just becomes a dance routine by the numbers, and they're all excellent at it. So they really deserve a hand for all of. Not again. No, that's okay. Hold it. We'll do it at the end. Bye.
My question is also for Dick Warlock. I was curious, why was the decision made to refilm the balcony scene? The Michael Myers.
I have
falling
no
off the
idea
balcony.
because I'm embarrassed about that. But
What
you
movie was
fellas
that?
want to go home? This has turned into my show here.
Halloween 2.
No, I'm kidding.
Can I get your autograph?
No,
I don't know. That was a decision that Mr. Carpenter made. I couldn't duplicate what he did. The circumstances were different. He had an overhang and a high railing. I had a short railing. That's the reason I used a ramp, is because I tried it without that, and I ended up going on my face, and that's not where I was supposed to end up. I was supposed to end up on my back. So I had to use the ramp to get off the thing. You know, it's a sissy way of doing it, but whatever, it worked, you know. It's just that all you guys caught it, that's all. You're very sharp, see.
Hi, one comment and one question. I just want to say that Michael Myers looks very handsome compared to Jason, Freddy, Hellraiser. But I also want to ask, Michael Myers has a nickname called The Shape. To any one of you, can you explain why he's called The Shape in general?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's another one. Okay, in the initial movie, an actor named Tony Moran, who, when they pulled the mask off, he got credit as Michael Myers. There couldn't be two Michael Myers, so it was decided that he was called The Shape. And that was just a decision that they made, I guess, by the producers and Carpenter and whoever.
That's true. My question is for Brett. Were you like intimidated that you had to put on a better performance than each of everyone else in the first 7 Halloweens, since you were like the newcomer, kind of?
Well, how would you do a better performance than these guys did? I was just trying to keep up to them, basically. You know, follow the example and try to do my best to keep up.
And do you have a favorite? Anyone before you that's a specific favorite?
The guy to my right.
Oh, politically correct
Good
answer.
answer.
All right.
What a great answer. You running for Schwarzenegger's job, are you?
I'll be back.
Nope.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, a lot of fans of these movies are big fans of the masks and all that stuff. What did you guys get to keep from the film as far as wardrobe? Oh, what did you guys steal off the set as far as wardrobe?
I got Zip.
Well,
I know these guys.
there was nothing to steal on our set, believe me. But because Deborah Hill kept the mask every night. She guarded it, slept with it, and she wouldn't allow anybody to even touch the mask, even be at lunchtime. So that mask was totally in security. There was nothing on that set that I got, and I was lucky probably to get a check, but I got it.
Well, I got to keep, because as I understand it, they never wanted to do a Michael Myers character again. So at the end of Halloween 2, I said, listen, can I have this mask? And Deborah said, yeah. And she gave it to me. I wrote the date in it, whatever. I got the mask, the coveralls, the boots that I wore, the L-Rod knife, and the scalpel. So I think I made out pretty good. After that is when they stopped letting anybody take anything.
On Halloween 6, I was privileged to receive a special mask for me after the show was completed by the special effects guy, makeup guy.
All I remember is a pink slip.
Well, I kept my mask. As I walked off, they came for it, and I go, nope, game ball. There's nobody big enough to... And there wasn't anybody big enough to take it away.
The mask on H2O was guarded probably as closely as on the first show, if not more so. But I did get one of the jumpsuits, and I did get the knife.
I didn't get a lot of material things, but I got a lifetime of memories that I'll always cherish. Okay,
Well, I have a question for George. Since you were the only one up here that actually played the role twice, how did that come about, and why did you not do part 5?
Well, I was busy during part 5. I guess Mr. Akkad decided that I was good enough to do number 6. That was it. I was just privileged to be picked for number 6 by Mr. Akkad. Kissy, kissy.
I was just wondering if we could all get a picture of all the Michael Myers doing the head tilt at the same time.
Which direction?
Oh, God.
Let's go to the left. Let's aggress left. Let's go. There you go. Stand up, boys. Stand up. All right, somebody count the three. 1, 2, 3. Somebody know a good
Okay.
chiropractor? I can do it for you. Keep going.
Well, anyhow, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I think that was a good finale there. Where they're not performing seals, they're not going to do anything else, jump around or anything. However, on that note, I want to personally thank everybody for coming out here for a great cause.
Where to start?
Well, actually, maybe a couple of opening comments. I certainly welcome your questions because that's what it's all about. But I would like to say I'm very sort of pleased and honored to be invited here. It's an interesting phenomenon for me, and one of the things I really enjoy about making films, besides the obvious creative activity, to me it's the idea that I have an opportunity to do something that I can sort of leave behind. It's actually kind of a thrill for me to go into a video store and see films that I've worked on, and to know that there are a lot of people around the world who have seen something that I've done. And it's especially rewarding to me to come to an event like a Halloween reunion, to know that here, 25 years later, there are still people who appreciate the effort, the work, the creativity that we all did on the film, and to be sort of recognized for that and appreciated the work, because it's very ironic in a way, because I remember one particular thing that happened. About 2 weeks after Halloween was released, and it began to build momentum. Of course, we all know the story that the first week, a few people went to see it, and there was the feeling that, well, maybe it wasn't going to be a success. The second week, more people went. So there began to be this feeling that, well, maybe the film would, in fact, be seen by people. And about the second or third week, it was out. We were all invited down to USC's film school because John was, of course, an alumnus of the school. And as such, he was sort of being held up as, where a film student could possibly go, actually making movies. So we were on a little panel discussion. They ran the film, and then after it was over, John, Deborah, Tommy Lee Wallace, myself, and I think Jamie were invited up, and we began answering questions. And a lot of them were, of course, the film student questions, which is, how did you do that, and what was your inspiration, and what kind of camera did you use, and what kind of film, and all of the questions that we sort of expected. And about halfway through, one guy in the back kind of stood up and said, I have to ask you people, why in the world would you make a film like this? What did you think you were going to do with this piece of crap film? And we were all kind of taken aback because, the obvious reason for making a film like that is, of course, we all wanted to work in the film business, and we had a chance to do that. But also, we had, really tried to do a little something extra with it, because prior to that, I'd been working on a lot of low-budget films that were action films, car chase films, sort of girls with machine gun films, that kind of thing. So it was actually a chance to do something a little more stylish. So when that question was asked, we all looked at each other, and I remember Deborah saying, well, to tell you the truth, as a film student, you come out and you hope to work on a film, and that's what we did. But we really tried to do something with it. It's a genre that had not been popular for a while, and we wanted to, add a little style to it and do it in a way that, you hope that it will be noticed, because that's, of course, one of the things that kickstarts your career, but also to do something in a way that potentially it could become a classic kind of film. And the guy said, well, that's the most outrageous thing I've ever heard. You people actually think this film could become a classic? And we said, well, we'd kind of hoped so. Well, so it's very rewarding 25 years later to realize that the film has, in fact, done that. That there are people who appreciate it long after the film, was released. And I don't wish that guy has failed and is now a drunk in an alley. But, that, I guess, kind of lurks in the back of my mind. So I want to thank you all for, first of all, being here and being a part of sort of recognizing and celebrating something that we all had hoped would become kind of a classic.
Where did you start when you were coming up with the ideas for the look of the film?
Well, a lot of the films prior to Halloween were done by directors who were not really visual storytellers. And they kind of viewed the camera as a device for recording actors talking and cars exploding. And so for me, it was a great treat when I realized that John was, completely aware of the camera and how, it was going to be a part of the storytelling, and also how we were going to create, sort of a look, a color palette, that he allowed me the freedom to, sort of do the painting with light thing that, we always sort of described the cinematography as being about. So early on, we sat down, and John's very big on looking at, old films, finding, sort of inspiration, really good ideas to steal, and that's what they say, always steal from the best if you're going to steal. So we did that, but then we really talked about how it was going to be kind of a stylized look, and so there was a heightened sort of feeling that Haddonfield was going to be a warm, fuzzy place that the evil enters. And so we talked about that as far as warm color palette, and we shot when there was it was not fall, so we had bags and bags of leaves that we would deliberately spread in front of the camera that had been painted, warm colors, so that we could really create that fall feeling. So the town was designed to be a really sort of a classic Americana feeling, and Pasadena was chosen because Deborah had said that she had grown up in New Jersey, and the Victorian houses and the frame houses were something that she identified with as far as small-town America. So we deliberately chose Pasadena for its kind of timeless feeling, and just deliberately made it warm and pleasant to counteract, of course, the fact that so much of it was going to be at night, and so much of it was going to involve evil.
Is there any moment in the film that you're really proud of? Any particular shot or sequence that you think really stands above the rest?
Well, it's interesting because I don't think I've done any film that I haven't gone back and looked at, sometime later, without saying, "Oh no, why in the world did I do that? What I should have done was this. Oh, how come I didn't So you're always looking at how you could have improved it and so forth. Halloween, to me, is one of those that I would fool with less. If I went back to do things, there's a lot less that we would do. I think that one of the things I liked about what we did was the use of composition. The 2:3:5 aspect ratio, the very long frame, is one that prior to working with John and Halloween on other films, we were working in the 1:8:5 format, which is a not as wide frame. It's a rectangular frame, but not quite as stretched out. And it's because a lot of directors didn't want to have to deal with the empty space next to the character's head in a close-up, or how to fill the frame. Well, John, to my great delight, saw that as a challenge, and how you actually use that format to create, the psychological and emotional involvement of the audience. So that's something that we very consciously did. There are scenes in the kitchen where she's walking back and forth on the telephone, and Michael's appears outside the French doors, and it was a very conscious effort to use that frame back and forth, so he appears and then disappears, and over the shoulder towards the end when Jamie's in the door frame and he stands up behind her. Those kinds of things were at the time for me a great delight, because as we were doing it, I said, well, of course that's what you do, and had been sort of thwarted from being able to do that prior to Halloween. So it was a great relief to find someone who also realized the value of that composition and how you can use that to do the storytelling. So I think the composition of what we were able to do is one of the things I'm probably most proud of, particularly for the time. And some of the little trick things we did, where he's lurking in the closet and in the dark, and we used a dimmer to, gradually reveal Michael's face hiding behind Jamie. Those were things that I had not had an opportunity to do prior to Halloween, because we were, just moving so fast on car chase films and not really interested in how do you affect the audience.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question about the sequels now. In Halloween 2, even though you work with Rick Rosenthal, the style is somewhat reminiscent of the first film, and even the third one to a certain extent, with the way the characters appear in the frame and so on. So how was it working with the other directors in comparison to John?
Well, John to me was sort of it was the first real visual storytelling director I'd worked with. Rick was, it was, I think, a first film for him. So fortunately, he really sort of allowed me to influence the film. He would say, well, how would you have done it in the first one? And I was able to contribute, that kind of feeling. And that consistency of look, I think, is something that's important in a series of films that are sequels and so forth. So it's always interesting working with different directors, because they all have their own style of working, their own areas of expertise. Some guys work with actors, some guys are visual storytellers, some guys can do both. I think that's one of the things I've enjoyed and about Halloween was the fact that the Steadicam, or the Panaglide, was a brand new tool. I had used it very briefly once before, and John also was interested in unique ways of storytelling. So that when I described to him this new device, and he of course had also heard of it, he immediately said, well, that's going to be an interesting way to do something in this film. And of course he devised the opening shot, which I think for the time was the most elaborate, sophisticated moving camera shot that had been done. And it was fun because I actually operated the camera between my camera operator Ray Stella and myself. We alternated because it was a very tricky shot to do, and so we each would do one take, and then we'd reload the camera, and each shot took one complete roll of film, so we'd always have to reload the camera after that. And the challenge of doing a shot that had really never been done before. I mean, and you know, it's rare in this business that you can say you do something that's never been done before, you know, because somewhere somebody has probably done something like it. But at that point, I would have to say it was a completely unique shot, and you know, was a lot of the fun of the film was always, you know, thinking about new ways to do things.
All right, throw it over to the floor now. Any questions for Mr. Cundy?
Hi. I've always been particularly impressed with the sequence where Jamie's hiding in the closet, and you've got the light coming through the slats in the closet, and then when Michael busts through, the bulb comes on, then eventually the bulb goes off, and the light sort of changes from the blue to the more incandescent light bulb type of style. There's something about that strikes me as very real. If somebody was coming into your home and one of the lights got cut on and then got cut off, that, you know, almost plays very psychologically authentic to me. And I was wondering if you could comment any on, you know, the thought that went into that whole sequence.
Well, yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up, because that's one of those kind of brief sequences in a film that, in fact, you work on for a while. And you know, there's always that question in your mind of, you know, when a character's in the dark, where does the light come from? You know, how can you see? How can people who are locked in coffins and buried, you know, 10 feet under the ground, how can we see them? You know, because there's somehow magical light. So you always make allowances for that. And the fact that the film itself is a lot less sensitive than the human eye, so you know, you're using more light than is ever incredibly possible. So that sequence was one of the examples of what were constantly sort of evaluating throughout the film, which is where does the light come from, and not only just that, but how do you use it to create the mood and the style. And so when John said, well, she runs into the closet, and, you know, we needed somehow to be able to see her. And I thought, well, the louvered doors would be a good way to do that. So we in fact had the louvered doors so that we could, you know, put the light through it, but also it could be broken easily and in a very dramatic kind of way. And then I cheated the angle of the light and the amount of it so that we would get these, you know, definite slats of light. And then the idea would be to then create some more drama out of it. So we decided that there would be a hanging light bulb, that when he's breaking through, that he hits the light bulb and it goes on and it swings. And I remember actually having somebody off camera deliberately moving the light, so it was, you know, there was a great deal more chaos and terror in the moment until finally it went out. So it was, again, besides the composition and the storytelling, using the light as part of a storytelling element, to me, was a great delight in this film, and the fact that John was so open to, you know, including the lighting as part of the process.
I have a couple questions. First of all, how much of the film was shot during the day versus the night? And if you had night shots during the day, how did you create the night look? And secondly, why did you choose the blue for the blue backlight?
Well, for the first part, most of the exteriors, or all of the exteriors that were nighttime, were shot at night. We had early on decided that the day for night process, which was where you shoot at night but try to make it look, you shoot during the day but try to make it look like night, was not going to give us the real feeling we wanted. We wanted dark shadows. We wanted people to be able to move in and out of light. We wanted a really authentic feeling of darkness. So the exteriors were all done at night, and for the budget it was quite an ambitious undertaking, because anytime you work at night, anything you want to see you have to light. And when we were doing some of the large extensive street shots, we were using what was relatively new for the time, HMI lights, and they were new. They were not inexpensive. I mean, they were a little more expensive than, of course, they are now. So it was quite a budgetary concern. How were we going to shoot all of these night exteriors and still do it for the minuscule amount of money we had? So it was very carefully planned that we would group them together so that on a particular week we would have the larger equipment package, and then the rest of the time we wouldn't carry it. Now, of course, we would typically carry all of the equipment we need. So it was a very carefully thought out process of shooting the night exteriors. Whenever possible, we would do the interiors, even though they took place at night, during the day. It's easier on the crew, and it's something that takes a little more effort because, for instance, the sequence in the kitchen that I spoke about earlier with the French doors and Michael appears in the panning shots, we had to black out, not just hang black cloth on all the windows as we might normally do, but we had to create an area where he could walk outside of the French doors, and there was no awning. So in those cases, you're building a framework that extends out into the backyard, sometimes quite a distance, and then hanging black cloth all over that, so that you've got a tented-in area. And also because I wanted to light through the windows, you have to do the same thing for all the windows. So we did interiors during the day, but we would tent the house in very frequently, so that we were able to do that. Otherwise, it sort of restricts the look. The blue color was what we talked about were the fact that there's kind of a basic psychological concept that we're all have sort of learned. We've been taught about warm colors being pleasant unless it's fire, and cold being blue colors being colder and sort of the darker side of the emotional spectrum. I'm feeling blue today, that kind of thing. So those were the two ends of the color spectrum that we had decided we would be using. And obviously there's a great deal of validity. Halloween and orange, of course. So those were chosen as the two essential colors that we would be using. Also, there's a kind of a convention in film that when you're working outside at night, or the character's outside at night, that the light is blue or cooler rather than warm. Even though that's not necessarily true, it's just a convention. When in reality, if you're outside at night and there's not a lot of light, your eyes don't pick up color. You're using the other color receptor in your eye. It's either the rods or the cones. I can't remember which. And that's all about intensity and not the color. So when you go outside at night, you're not seeing colors. So it's almost like black and white. Well, if we could, we would maybe do night exteriors sort of in black and white. Not being able to do that, we've sort of accept blue as a convention for night exteriors. We call it the magical, mysterious moonlight feeling. But it fit perfectly into what we wanted to do as far as creating, sort of two worlds, a sort of warmer, potentially safer world of daytime and interior, and then, the cold night exteriors where evil could be lurking.
Yeah, it's kind of a silly question, but I was wondering if by any slim chance you're hopefully going to film the next Halloween, or if you know.
Well, I haven't had any phone calls yet,
Um,
but I wouldn't turn it down because
First two are the best.
I have a great affection for the films and and the visual style that they've created.
Someone should give him the phone call. Anyway, could you give a big hand for Dean Cundy?
Mustafa, what does it feel like 25 years later to see this phenomenon? What is it like?
I mean, really, such a moving moment. I think one of my moments in my life. And I have to say, I don't know, maybe I'm taking too much credit for this. Yes, I was the one who started it. I saw the potential, but, credit goes to John Carpenter, who really started it, and Arun Yablans, who came with John, came to me. I was doing a movie, Line of the Desert, big epic. We're spending $300,000 a day. They came, they said the whole movie is $300,000. I mean, I know most of you know the story, but maybe for those who don't know it, I say, you get worried when the budget is high, and you get worried the budget is low. 300,000, they said, yes. What's the story? John gave it to me in 4 words. I grabbed it. He said, the babysitter to be killed by the boogeyman. Not the boogeyman that attracted me, the babysitter. Because every kid in America knows what a babysitter, they can relate to a babysitter. So we can put them inside the screen. And we did it. And we were surprised at the success. If any credit I get is preserve the franchise. And Michael Myers, you always heard me, I love this guy. I would not allow anybody to kill him. I mean, kill him, finishing him.
Erwin, how did you get involved in the series? What exactly happened?
Well, to say how did I get involved is putting it backwards. This came to me as sort of an epiphany. We had a company called Compass International Pictures, and we were distributors of low-budget pictures. The problem was that we couldn't find any low-budget pictures to distribute. It became apparent that the only way we could make any money is if we started to make some pictures. A little movie called Siege came to our attention by a young USC film student by the name of John Carpenter. And nobody would pay attention to it, nobody would look at it, nobody would even dare think about distributing it. We looked at it, and we liked it. I changed the title to Assault on Precinct 13. The picture was not very successful in the United States, but in London, it caught the attention of the critics, and it became very much the darling of that festival and won the festival. I was so excited by that, I thought, well, we got to find out a way to make a movie with this guy. And I was in Europe, coming home, and I should back up a bit. The fellow that stopped me on the way home from Europe to take Assault on Precinct 13 and put it in the London Film Festival believed in the movie tremendously, and he insisted that we put it in. His name was Michael Myers. Michael Myers, many of you may not know this, maybe some of you do. He was the London distributor who was the fellow that inspired the name Michael Myers later on for John Carpenter. Anyway, on the plane back, I thought, well, we got to figure out a way to make a movie, and we have to figure out a way to do it cheap, and we have to do it quickly, and let's do it in one night because it isn't expensive to shoot all in one night. And then the idea of Halloween popped into my head. And I was certain that Halloween had been used somewhere in a movie, somewhere in a title. So I got back home and I went down to the Academy of Motion Pictures and I researched it. And not only had Halloween not been made as a movie, but we found out that the word had never been used in a title. And that's amazing when you consider all the movies that were made. So I got right home that night off the plane. I called John from my bedside. I'll never forget it. And I told him the story. I said, John, I want to make a movie about a babysitter, and I want to make it in one night, and I want to call it Halloween. I thought he might either laugh or be excited. He got it right away. He said, that's incredible. I'm in. We met the next day at a little hamburger place, and I said, now we got to get Mustafa Akkad to come along with us. Mustafa was in London at the time. And I said to John, you go to London because I think they want to give you an award anyway for Assault on Precinct 13. And I think Mustafa remembers this. He went to London and gave Mustafa the whole pitch. We got the money. And his only demands were that he be allowed complete creative freedom and that he have final cut. And I remember Mustafa and I spoke, and we both agreed. Mustafa said, for $300,000, he can have final cut. He can have everything if he can bring the picture in the way he wanted. What we never bargained for was, though, not only did he do was the arrangement for the movie, but John was also to write the script, and he was also to write and perform the music. We all know what the music turned out to be. It's indelible in everybody's memory, and it's probably the best. I think the best score for any movie of its kind ever, and we know that.
For Mustafa, I was wondering what your thoughts are, how you feel about the idea of Michael Myers versus Pinhead.
The idea was suggested, to match him against Pinhead. Yeah, I was against it. With my with my respect to Pinhead, the whole theory there, but Michael Myers, always we have him as a real person. He's not the one go through walls and kill at random. Somebody fell from the sky, 10 ears, I know he's a real person, therefore we have to match him with somebody real. And I have lots of pressure and resisted it, so now we are in this dilemma too. Find the angle for Halloween 9.
And my personal opinion, if he went up against anybody, I think Jason versus Michael Myers would be the best match.
Jason?
Yeah.
How many, just we'll say Jason versus Michael Myers.
I was wondering if you could tell us about the plot of Halloween 9, or some of it, or if there was I heard a rumor about that in the next one you might bring something of the son of Dr. Loomis.
Well, obviously we cannot tell what we're going to do.
Come on, we're all friends here, you can tell us.
Well, we'll see. We are thinking, it's not the time for it, I guess, probably.
Okay. Next.
I was actually wondering yesterday in the panel for Halloween 2, Sheriff Brackett, the gentleman who plays Sheriff Brackett, he looks similar to Dr. Loomis. Now, I told him I would say this specifically to you, Mr. Akkad, that he would love to come back and avenge his daughter's death, because he just did retire and go to Florida. That's all. And I think that would be a really good idea. And I could always play Dr. Loomis's son.
What do what do I want more than, the films, we make them to the audience.
Right.
And if that's the wish, obviously. Please, we like to hear the good, the bad, everything. Through Tony's web, or we'd like to hear from all of you and so on. But I was looking at my son here, Malik. He's the one in charge of the whole thing now. Stand up,
Raise your hand, Malik.
Are you listening? Don't sit and argue with me, okay? You're listening. That's what the audience. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mustafa, this is for you. I wanted to ask, are you going to be making a sequel to Halloween 3? Season of the Witch?
Not really. I think Halloween 3.
You got here late.
Halloween 3 was a good movie, but it's not the Halloween franchise. But it was good by itself. I think it was.
Mustafa, can you explain a little bit why we
Okay.
departed from the Halloween 2, the Michael Myers storyline, and went with Halloween 3, a brand new story?
Well, because, I mean, they came to us with a third sequel. I mean, that was not known. I mean, what do you mean, third sequel? Don't worry, we will. I said, people get tired of seeing the same character again. I said, don't worry, we'll take him out.
25 years later.
It was De Laurentiis, wasn't it?
3, huh?
That was De Laurentiis as well?
De Laurentiis also.
Yeah, we lost a little control there.
Yeah, because they say, don't worry, you get your profit in advance. And I said, okay. So I wasn't convinced of a third sequel. And then when we saw, it didn't do bad, but it wasn't the Halloween, And so after that, obviously, then on 3, moved everybody, got it, went back to the basics of number 1. And my favorite is number 4, of course, always. That's the big hit.
What makes Halloween unique, and I think, in my opinion, it was the instructions that were given to John Carpenter, and I think if it were up to me, I would certainly vote for it again. One of the great successes of the original Halloween was, it's not what you see, it's what you are afraid to see. It's not so much the gore, the action, the violence, the mayhem. There are many people who have seen Halloween, and they when they think back, they realize they really haven't seen that much in the way of graphic violence or gore. In fact, I always argue with people who haven't seen it because they don't like those kind of movies. I say, well, you haven't seen the film. You will not see any blood in the film. You will.
We made mistakes. Some of them, I think, there was, but usually.
That's my point. The original Halloween was the most effective because it kept you completely on edge. You never know what you were going to see behind a door, up a flight of stairs. And once it happened, it didn't matter whether it was bloody or gory. And I think, in my opinion, Mustafa, that's the most important aspect of the movie. That sets us apart, by the way, from the Friday the 13th and from the other, from the Nightmares on Elm Street.
That's what. I mean.
And that takes more skill and more writing.
Yeah, I mean, any writer, we always have few points that are a must, of course. Being real person, doesn't kill at random, doesn't go through walls. And the least we see him, the better it is. We feel his presence. All these, obviously, it's basic input. But there are times where we missed. The gore was a little bit too much, but we promise we won't do it next time.
Hey, sorry to put you on the spot, but aside from John, of course, who do you think did the best job? Who did you like the best directing, aside from John?
No, this is a question I don't think I can, I think this...
It's okay, we're all friends here.
No, but we are all friends, but I leave it, this is the audience. So, I mean, I can... This is the problem with the industry. We are not... an engineer will build this building on the inch, you cannot go wrong. There is right or wrong. Or the doctor, or the lawyer. In our business... Nobody can say this is right, wrong. Only can say, I like it, I didn't like it. So we are at the mercy of liking it or not liking it. So I might give an opinion, but it's the audience that counts at the end. So whatever your opinion is, I think that's the opinion. Whatever we tell you is going to be different because that's what you like. So I cannot tell you. They are all good. Everybody gave whatever they can, and some of them did better, but excuse me if I don't give names on this.
No, don't worry about it. Oh, one more thing was, I think most people here would agree with me. Not only should Charles Cyphers come back, but how's about Danielle Harris somehow? When she was here yesterday, she said she'd love to do it, so why not?
I couldn't agree with you more, but I don't know whether I should say it now. We tried her to bring her back on 6.
And what happened with that?
Was it 6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, her character died, but I mean.
She was, I don't know, but she was busy. She couldn't because I guess so we were not able to get her. And therefore, so now maybe we come back to her. I don't know. Again, I'm listening to ideas because believe me, all these ideas are very important to us.
Tony, take a poll online.
Would you like another poll?
Yeah, Tony.
Great. Erwin has a question for the audience.
I just want to try something out for what it's worth. I'll listen to this and tell me what you think. What about The Bride of Michael Myers?
Right here in the second row. But what's the idea? The Bride of Michael Myers.
I'm not going to say any more. I was
Okay,
just looking
you
for
got
a
your
reaction,
answer.
that's all.
Next.
I just have two more questions. I'm sorry. Whatever happened to Michael Myers' parents? They said they died, but did he murder them?
Oh, well, I mean...
Because, I mean, could his father come back, or...?
We didn't touch into that. I think it's a good, probably, angle. I mean, because all we have is really his family and his relatives. That's
Right.
always the angle. We tried in Halloween 6 to go into his mother and so on, but then we just, we were kept out.
Right.
It's a good angle. Yeah.
Because we know, his father could possibly be, a part of it. And Dr. Wynn, did he die in Halloween 6 in that whole slaughter in the hospital?
You know, believe me, you know more than I do about this. I mean, yeah, well, we will look into it.
Okay. And one more question. Could I get a picture with you?
Oh, please. I mean, don't ask. I mean, you know how much you really make me. This moment to me is one of the moments of my life. Whatever I worked, I did, all this at the end to face an audience, appreciating what you do. It's a great moment, believe me. More important than an award or financial. Just really, it means a lot. You want to take a picture with me? Will you please take a picture with me?
Thank you very much.
My name's Jason.
Hi, Jason.
My middle name's Michael.
His middle name is Michael.
This is a question primarily for Erwin. Do you think it is possible now in 2003, 2004 to actually do a virtually no-budget movie or low-budget movie and have it have the theatrical significance that Halloween did have? And also the second thing is, how does it feel to have that idea of the babysitter murders and literally 25 years later you're at this, it's phenomenal. I mean, just the convention and...
Yeah, well, Mustafa described his feelings. I can tell you how I feel about it. You know, it's a form of immortality. It really is. It's as close as anybody can get to that feeling. To know that one simple little idea that popped into your head. There are two things to be learned. The first thing is that never dismiss a simple idea because you think somebody else may have done it or it may not be good enough. Because I almost did that. But not everybody gets the chance to sit 25 years later and not only see something he's done become almost an institution, but we've actually appropriated a holiday. We made Halloween. You know, when the movie Halloween was made, Halloween was just a fun holiday for kids. In 25 years, Halloween has become a vast commercial enterprise, and in no small part fueled by our movie. And as the other part of your question, which I think most of we've already been talking about, can you make more pictures for low budgets and still? Yes, because the brilliance is in the idea. You know, nobody has the patent on an original, fresh idea. The amount of money spent on a film, there's no corollary between the amount of money spent and the amount of response you're going to get from an audience. I'll tell this quick little story about Halloween. We couldn't get theaters for Halloween. We both knew a man named Salah Hassanine, who owned theaters in New York. He was an old friend of mine from my days at Paramount. He agreed to give me the Rivoli Theater in New York, which was a big, important theater. He had 4 weeks open before Christmas. and he agreed to give it to me. We had to pay for the theater. We had to pay for the advertising. Mustafa remembers very well what we went through. I was willing to risk it. The important thing about that thing is the marquee read Halloween, in small letters, opening October 31st. And then in huge letters, coming Christmas, Spielberg's 1941. Now, that was a picture he paid millions of dollars for. When we took our film off, because he was locked into that date, we were doing $60,000, $70,000, which in those days was like $300,000 a week. He opened up 1941 the next week and had to take it off doing nothing the next week. So it just teaches you that it's the idea, it's the skill, it's the artistry. And I intend to do more like that, and I think we will do more like that. No, the situation is just as it was then.
Okay. Thank you. Congratulations, guys. It's 25
but I
years
mean,
later.
really, I mean, cannot sit and take the credit all. I mean, credit goes to many directors, writers, all this. If any credit is to preserve the franchise the way it started, that's it. But I mean, we should really give credit to many talent that worked with us on these, all 8 episodes.
Any last comments, Erwin, you have for the audience?
No, I'm as Mustafa said so eloquently, it's an incredible feeling to know that something that you helped create so many years later is not only here, but it's growing and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And to sit here and see a room this large, and this isn't the first convention. I went to the last one that recently we had another one, and I was amazed at the people that came from everywhere and how much people know about this. It's gratifying and it's just exciting to see what's happening.
At the same time, God puts a big burden on. I mean, Tony did such a marvelous job, really. And then I met some people who flew from other states and so on. How can I sit here and fail you? I promise I am going to make it worthwhile. I hope. It's a big burden on me, but I promise I do my best.
Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Erwin Yablans, Mustafa Akkad.